interview is with W.P. Atkinson, 22692, for the Oklahoma Historical Society. This is Rodger Harris.
Really? It's been in a lock and key for all these years, better than 25 years, must be near 30 years. And let me tell you the circumstances in which this was written. It'd be of interest to you. Mm-hmm. In both governor's races, Gaylord fought me like a tiger. And he fought me by using false accusations. He hardly ever told the truth in any editorial about me. Mm-hmm. Now, let me, we're on tape now, aren't we?
No. Yes.
That's okay.
We are on tape?
It's okay to be on tape. Because I want to preface some of this information and go back just a little bit, because I think it would really be important as a basis even for this letter. Mr. E.K. Gaylord was recognized for many years after I first met him, and I was in my mid-20s, as being, without a doubt, one of the most visionary and one of the smartest and the number one leader, and surely the man that spoke with the loudest with the power, because he owned most all the media in most part, as you know. Mm-hmm. In a few more days I can tell you anything you want to know, because we're just now getting all the dates and facts. But I have, you already have this, I bet you do. You have in your file, I'm sure, the exact date that he bought the Daily Oklahoman.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
By the way, those are Mockingbirds, I might say. And but I bet you've never seen the contract under which he negotiated and purchased this newspaper.
No.
I have a copy of it.
Really?
It's
1916, wasn't it?
I believe that's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's to be a history-making document.
Mm.
And one of the girls already found it, and now we lost it again. We've got so much stuff here we're dragging out and putting together. We're just now trying to put together all this tremendous amount of history that we have. And so you know this too, if you don't mind, I'll just tell you a little bit about how these things happened. I came here in 1928, immediately after finishing Texas Christian University. And a lot of people ask the question, why and how and why did I start the Oklahoma Journal? So you being newspaper minister, you might like to know that.
Yeah, in fact, as I just saw, you started the Star. I didn't know that you
yes.
did.
Oh, yes, that's what I'm going to tell you. Well, now, I started, my mother passed away when I was 9 years old, and I then lived with first one member of the family, then the other, back in Carthage, Texas. But when I was about 11 years old, I was given a job as a devil in a print shop. You gentlemen know what that term means.
Yes.
And it wasn't long before they, in a small, good, strong weekly newspaper, they permitted me to do about everything that could be done in that shop. As a matter of fact, I was always trying to find new and better ways to do things, and you'll sort of get a kick out of this story, many stories that I'll tell you, I think, because I can remember as well as I had from yesterday. You know, in those days when you're setting type by hand, you people...
I know what that was.
You do? I think you do, young man.
I have seen a composite... I worked with a composite stick just in learning.
Is that
we had hot type for... I worked with hot type for 20 years, 25 years.
Yes.
But
on a line type machine?
Well, no, but I was always an editor, but I worked in newspapers that used it.
Oh, yes.
When I was studying back in the early 50s, they still taught us how type was hand set.
Is that right?
That was still one of the things we had to at least know about.
Well, now, Mac, are you the editor of the paper downtown?
Not anymore, but I was for 8 years.
8 years.
I was with I started with the Oklahoman, 1950s.
Oh, you did?
As a young sports writer.
Is that right?
Worked with Tom Wright, who was later one of your men.
Yes.
Tom and I went to school together. And then I went to Minnesota. I went to New York for my master's, and then I went to Minnesota. I was sports editor of the Minneapolis Star in Minneapolis during the 60s and 70s.
Oh, yes.
Covered baseball, then became sports editor. Came back here in 1980. Dan Hogan and I had been to school together. Mm-hmm. So Dan hired me to build the Journal Record, which was a about a year or two after he went to that business section.
Yes.
And so I took it from 1980 to 1988, at which point I began to want to get into more historical work. So I still write the column, but I'm not in management anymore. I work with the Historical Society more now. But
you have a very interesting background, and your voice would indicate you could have very well been on TV. And
well, I'm on radio every day. I have been for 12 years for KKNG. I've got a radio show on KKNG.
How about that?
Still do.
Well, I guess right on that.
Yeah, 6:30 in the morning. You got to get up early.
Well, sometimes most 6:30. That's right. Yeah. But now you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I know what a compositor.
You're going to get a bang out of
yes.
this. So you adjust your lines with in quads and M quads and
yes.
other.
One at a time.
One at a time. And you have to be very careful about it. Otherwise, it'll pie. You know what pie means? When you're taking
it goes all over the floor.
When you take the press, the whole thing blows out, and you got to do everything over, and that's when you get fired usually. So I got to. That's right. So we had 3 boys. They were older than I was, so I had to work hard to try to stay up with them. So I found out that they did a new way. So I got me a cigar box, and I found this very soft wood, and I'd made me a lot of pegs. And I'd stick it in there and hit it, and it'd go right down. And I got to where I could type 3 times faster than I could.
The hands.
Oh, you better believe it. And I got away with that for a number of weeks. I can tell you, I got away with it as long as it would let me help put that on the press. Because I was very careful who did it. So, but one day they got in a hurry, and I was out of pocket when they started putting it on the press. So one of the boys jerked it around a little bit too hard, and the whole page fell out. And I had double trouble. But so then I had gotten on the good side of that. He thought I was A-OK. So he laughed about it. We sat up all night redoing the page. But then the next incident, it is a little thing.
Yeah.
But I always tried to set type faster than they did, and I set it so fast that I made so many mistakes. And he took the full page and then circled that with 4 more pages. And the time he got through showing the mistakes, I know I didn't make that many mistakes, but he had me making several hundred mistakes in a column of time. You can't do that,
yeah,
you know
right.
that. But then I'm about as soon as 12 feet high, and he pasted it right on top of the ceiling. So I couldn't possibly get it down. So everyone would come in and be looking up that. I was a joke of the town. I don't know why I even thought of that, but anyway, I started at the bottom.
Yeah, I was going to say, you started. I didn't realize that. I thought you just bought the journal. I didn't even know about the Star.
Oh, no.
You really started.
Oh, I really started.
I had known that you taught at OCU.
Well,
because I did a column with the man who was your assistant over there, who later worked here with you, and now is operates the train agency.
Oh, Howard Thorne?
Yes.
Yes.
I did a column with Howard about 2
Is that
years ago.
right?
Well, when he started the Watauga Chief, I did a piece with
Well, I got a few things to tell you that's going to really surprise you. Really.
So, I knew you taught at OCU. I never knew why you taught journalism.
Well, I'll tell you why.
And
I'm delighted to tell you why.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, sure.
Well, it sort of leads up in this manner.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to go to Texas University. And when I was with a weekly paper, the editor told me he would be sure that I went to Texas University. He'd give me a high recommendation, because at that time I was really good on the line type producer myself. I didn't make the errors then either, but the line type came into being during that period of time, and I got the first shot at it. And then, because this was pretty well to man, I don't know whether they made it on the paper or not, but he kept up with very. His name was Mr. Parks. He had the biggest car in town, and he had a son about my same age. He had a Packard automobile. I won't get into that, but I was pretty popular, knowing his son. Fortunately for me, his son didn't like the paper. You find that so often when a man has a son, he wants to polish tracks.
Yeah,
he just won't do it.
Won't do it.
Well, that was true with him. So one time, about 2 weeks before school was supposed to start, I had not heard from anyone at Texas University. So I guess this might tell you something about me right now. I just picked up the phone and called, spent some of the company's money and called the business manager of Texas University to be told that he'd never heard of me, he'd never received a letter, and who are you anyway? So then I faced Mr. Parks with it, and he had to admit to me that he had not written a letter because I said, Bill, I'm going to make you a deal. You're not going to leave here. You don't need to leave here. He said, I know what your record's been in school, finishing high school, and I know what a great job you're doing for me. My son's not interested in the paper, and I'm going to sell you half interest in this paper at a price you can't afford to turn it down. And after a while, I just want you to be sure and make money here to help the rest of my family out, and it's going to be a whale of a deal for you. It's interesting. I'm bragging now, but I guess Dizzy Dean said if it's the truth, you're not bragging.
That's right.
So I'm telling you the truth. Now, so then I had no choice but to go to another college overnight. So I called to the Jacksonville Daily Progress, and I've always been a great hand to go to the top man, because if you go to the second or third man and he turns you down, that's as far as you're going to get.
Yeah, that's right.
You're in trouble then.
Yeah.
At least I learned that, I thought, a long time ago. And so I talked to Mr. McFarland on the phone, the publisher of the Jacksonville Daily Progress. And I checked up on Jacksonville right quick, and my gosh, Jackson was a thriving city. It was the tomato capital of East Texas, which is something. And so I said, they sound pretty good to have Lon Marsh College, a Methodist school. Well, I'd heard a lot of people say it was good for a youngster to go to a junior college, particularly if he's working his way through school, and I had to work every dollar my way through school. So Mr. McFarland met me at the train, and you're going to get a kick out of this. And Barbara, you never heard this story. I didn't have any clothes, very few. But those that I didn't have, I just built a little box crate and put them in it. I don't know why I didn't put them in a sack or something else. But he met me at the train, and he said, where's your handbag? I didn't have a handbag, but I didn't want him to know it, because I had on my best clothes, and I didn't want him to know otherwise. He insisted that we see my handbag. So I said, Mr. McFarland, you're embarrassing me now. He said, I'm not going to leave till you get your clothes. Well, I said, well, they're not in the handbag, they're in a box that I built myself. Well, fortunately for me, that impressed him.
Yeah.
So he put him in the back of his car, and he said, now the first thing we're going to do is go out to Lon Marsh. He was the publisher of that daily paper, and he was a brilliant man, one of the smartest men I've ever met, before or since. And he said, I know them all. I went to school. I know the president, and I'm going to take you, Bill Atkinson, right straight to the president's school, and you're going to know me and we're going to matriculate. I didn't know what matriculate meant, but whatever it meant, if he said matriculate, I was going to matriculate with him. So we got out there, and it went along before I learned what he meant, what he had in mind, and I got a good send over to President University because the publisher of the paper brought me out there. I was in tall cotton, all for that. So then I started to work for him down at the paper, and it wasn't very long before he had me doing everything. As a matter of fact, I don't know when they started writing personals. He said that I was the first one he'd ever suggested it to him. He was not writing personals. You know what a personal is in a small town paper way back, where did Maggie go last week, and where did Sue going to go next week, and all those kind of things. Well, he had me out selling advertising after a while, and I found I had no problem at all in selling advertising, but I also, in talking to the people, I get acquainted with them, and they'd inevitably tell me a little news story. It was a personal story. So I developed a column. I became a columnist. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
And it was the first time they'd had that in this paper, and it became very, very popular. I've since learned the more names you can get in your publications, the better it is for you. And so he went around. I could see I wasn't born yesterday, even at that time. I mean, and then I could tell he passed by the dormitory, and he said, I don't want you to live there. I said, why not? He said, there'd be so much noise and carrying on, these kids carrying. He said, I hope you're a studious type, and you mean business. I said, well, I don't know about the studious part, but I really do mean business. I intend to I'm going to make you a good hand, and I've always been a rather positive thinker. I always have goals, and I've tried my best to make them. And I told him that I was I didn't know. He said, what sports do you play? Are you in? And I said, tennis. And he said, well, how good are you? And I said, well, I'm a champion in high school of East Texas. He said, champion? How'd you work your way through school and become a champion? Now, I'm going to tell you my weak points too now. I was a little sneaky. They had all clay courts then. And I was the champion of the East Texas playoff. I don't think we ever had a state playoff. I don't claim to be champion. We did have one over in Tyler, Texas, though. So I went over there after winning 2 or 3 other tournaments, and as I did the others, and I studied the courts and memorized every square foot of the court. And a clay court, after a few weeks, they'll break down in certain spots per square foot.
Yes.
And you're familiar with that.
Yes.
And now, I got there several days before the other boys did. Now, why they didn't do this, I don't know. I just don't know. And I practiced on just hitting a sheet of paper like that, a square foot. Constant practice. Well, I practiced at those soft spots. And if I could find one in the area in which I was serving, I really aimed at it, you'd be surprised. I mean, go this way, that way, this way. I'd have somebody closer than that. Maybe that wasn't cricket, but I did do it, and I got away with it. And that was one of the reasons. Of course,
It was there for them to do too.
You ever heard of Bill Tilden?
Yes, I did. I never saw him play.
I read all his books, and
Yeah.
I tried to ape him. I got it where I had to put a hard service. Now, you start asking me something, Max?
I just say I missed or I lost some. You were living before you went to college. What was your town, hometown?
Carthage.
It was Carthage, Carthage, Texas.
Carthage, Texas.
Okay, I had Carthage, Missouri in my mind, and then I started. Okay.
Carthage, Texas.
Okay.
That's Panola County.
Okay.
The county seat. The typical small town, and they had a courthouse right in the center, and all the town.
I didn't mean to divert you, but I just wanted to.
No.
I wanted to.
Not at all. Not at all.
Those steps.
Now, so he went to several other places to try to find. He went to several rooming houses that had ads in the paper, but I could tell that Mr. McFarland wasn't trying to find me a place. I could see that, and I didn't know exactly what he was up to. But he said, Bill, I believe I want you to stay. No, he called me Billy. I don't know why everybody that I work for always call me Billy. He said, I want you to stay at my home tonight, and I want my wife to meet you. And here again, he had a son and a daughter, and both of them were in college, and they were away from town, and I didn't meet him for about a year after he got out of school. And they were not at all interested in the paper. Not
Really?
one whit. I can't understand that, but that's the way it usually goes. Normally. I mean, it's been my experience anyway.
Yeah.
Well, he took me to his home, and I was amazed that he had one of the largest, most beautiful homes I'd ever seen, and there it was in Jacksonville, Texas. And I'll never forget, it was 2 stories, just been completed a few months prior to that time, and he was so proud of it. And it was yellow, trimmed in white. And he was a big shot. All the rest homes around were big homes, but his was bigger. So, I was a little nervous going to such a fine. I've never been to a fine home like that before. And so I met his wife, was a lovely person. Then I had dinner with him, and then most interesting evening I ever spent. He was a scholar. He really was a scholar, and I've never been shy about asking questions. So I just started on some questions, and he'd answer my questions like that. It seemed like he'd like to do it. At that time, I wanted to know all about Jacksonville, and he told me all about it. And so that night we went down. He had a central heating system. I'd never heard of one before. It was the best heating system I've ever known in my life. So he had that down in the basement. And I was inquisitive then as I am now, like most everybody is. Yes. And I wanted to know exactly how he cut it off and how he started it. He said, why do you want to know all this? I said, I just like to learn things as I go along. Well, he showed me. So what I really had in mind was to show him that I could be useful to him. And the next morning, I asked him, I said, what time do you start this heater? He said, 5 o'clock, never later than 5:30. So I set my alarm clock. No one ever slept in this room. They gave me a brand new room. And I set my alarm clock at 4:30 the next morning and went down and started the heater for him. He knocked on my door about 5:30 and he said, Billy, did you start that heater? And I said, yes, sir. He said, how'd you know how to do it? And I said, you showed me how to do it. So, well, then I found right away I had me a home. Because I helped his wife wash dishes and do whatever. She was a great lady, and they took me in as their son. That's the way to mine too. And this is believe it or not, I don't know when I've ever told this story. I've never told you about anything like this before, not ever. But anyway, I wouldn't dare miss a meal with them. I'd go home from college to have lunch. I was there at dinner. I was at breakfast. You know why? And I was just as quiet, if you can imagine me being quiet. I listened to this man talk. It was brilliant, just brilliant. I think I learned more from him in 2 years than I probably learned at the school, Lon Marsh College. At Lon Marsh College was a great school too. And by the way, I was won the championship in that whole area with on singles and doubles and tennis. Able to sort of work that in too. That was my sport. But I didn't get it.
The name of the school was
Lon Marsh.
Lon Morris.
Lon Marsh Junior College. Do we have an annual here at Lon Marsh?
Yes, I'll show it to you.
Okay. And Mr. McFarland, what was his first name?
McFarland.
Oh, it's Mac. Those are 2 words.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
John McFarland.
Okay.
John McFarland.
John McFarland.
John McFarland.
Okay.
And he was a man about the size as you. But he just took me under his arm, and I belonged to him. Well, guess what? I still want to go to Texas University. Guess what? As the rest of the story is, he pulled the same stunt on me as my weekly paper friend did. And he, first time he ever fibbed to me in his life, he told me he was going to write Texas, going to call Texas University to the president, and I published the paper. But that's a pretty important man.
Yeah.
I knew he'd get me in there to do that job. And I just wanted a line type job. I just wanted, somehow or another, I wanted to say I got a degree from Texas University. Just like you'd want one from OU if you live around here, OSU, some great school like that. So just a few weeks before schools before to open, I again called the business manager of Texas University because he didn't remember me calling him before. He said, if you just only called me 2 weeks ago and I had a spot ready for you, and we would have wanted you, but they all fell now. Will you call me next time? There's no next time to it because that was it. And so now, and I told Mr. McFarland that he made me a proposition. He said, Bill Atkinson, you're going to stay with me, or Billy rather, and you're going to be my partner. He actually said he'd give me half interest in the paper. Yeah. And if you'll take care of my children with the other half until they're on their feet, that then I'll work out a long range deal where you can buy the rest of the paper from them. And I promised. Now I got to tell you why I was so hard-headed about this.
Yeah.
There's reason for everything. And when my mother died of pneumonia, in those days when you had pneumonia, you were dead. Exactly 9 days from the day you took it. Yeah. And we had a hard, rough time as children, and mother and dad. My dad was a carpenter, and my mother took in washing as seamstress. And I sewed. I'd go uptown and talk to the neighbors and get the washing and and I can see myself out there right now, 8 years old. I don't know how in the world I did it, but I had to do it. And I promised them if the dress didn't fit them, mother wouldn't charge me anything for it. So we got a lot of business. But one day, a cold spell came up. She got real cold and took pneumonia. Took her under the fireplace, tried to get her warm, and called the doctor. Dad was gone some other place that time because he was a very, very good finished carpenter man.
My son is.
Cabinet work.
My son's a cabinet maker.
Is that right? Well, my dad was a cabinet maker.
My grandfather's worked for 7 generations in Germany.
Is that right?
Yeah, I found them. I found all the stuff they made back to the 1600s. And I'm very proud of my son who's doing this.
Well, I don't blame you.
He went to Germany and learned under the old masters, and he makes furniture the way it was made 100 years ago.
Max, you are German, aren't you?
Yeah, very.
Yeah. I've just got to say this. I don't know what your ancestry is, but I'll tell you, I've had experience with 4 different people who were full-blooded Germans, and I'm telling you, if I could just, you have any German-blooded, they are the hardest working. They don't know you're not supposed to work.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they believe it.
And I congratulate you if you're here. I really do. The 4 people I had, the Germans were just they were tops in whatever they were doing.
I'm sorry I interrupted, though. How old were you when your mother died then? Were you 8?
I was 9 years old.
9.
I was 9. And then, I don't know why I'm telling you all this, but the first time are we recording here too?
Yes, we are.
Well, good. Then get that on record.
Yeah.
So the doctor talked to her and told her that she would be unconscious for until the 9th day. And that day, her mind would be just as clear as it was the day before that she took ill. And he said, you'll be that way for several hours. Now, who in your family do you want to talk to? Who will be responsible for the family after you pass away? And she told him, I would be. And so I spent, at least 3 hours, and she held my hands as tight as she could. And bless her heart, she just laid it out. She knew what the goal should be for me. And she told me. She spelled out an outline and specifications of the type of a life she wanted me to live. And she said, I want you to be the first member of the Atkinson or the Tiller family on either side that can say that they got a degree from one of the great universities of this country. And I promised her I would do it. And she said, now let me warn you. And when you get in junior high and high school, you're going to fall in love with some little girl. And you're going to change your mind. But please promise me now that you won't do it. And she says, I'll tell you why. You can still keep that girlfriend. If she really loves you, and you think you love her well enough to marry her, she will stay with you and admire you because you will go ahead and get an education along the lines that I'm explaining to you. She didn't try to tell me what to study. That wasn't in her field at that time. She wanted to be sure and get a degree, give me a good, strong base to go to. She evidently thought I had some future. I guess every mother thinks the same thing. Of course they do about their children. But anyway, believe it or not, that did enter. And what she said was exactly right. Sure enough, in high school, I found a little girl. I just thought I just had to marry her. But the more I'd explained to her about my mother, she would understand it. And she stuck by me. And then, for quite a while. And then she didn't stick by me. But so I had to go ahead. That's the way life goes. That's right. And then, then, as I said a little while ago, I couldn't go to Texas University for the reasons I gave you. So then, therefore, I had to settle for a next best place, which turned out to be one of the most wonderful places I ever went in my life, or could have gone. I'm just sure it was the place for me to go. Because, I'm glad I'm thinking of these names. There was a Mr. Sam Lowe, who was the superintendent of the shops of Jacksonville, Texas, had moved up and on to the superintendent of the largest commercial shop, the All Church Press was the name of it, but they did all kinds of commercial business. And Mr. Douglas Thomason was the publisher of all those papers. He was a graduate of Columbia University.
Which where I went to school.
Is that
I took
right?
my master's there, yeah.
How about that? Well, I tried my best to follow you. I wanted to go to Columbia, too. I really did. That was the greatest, I guess still is.
It's the best
journalism school in the country.
It's a matter of sheer luck, you know.
Yeah.
They allowed 75 in when I got in, which was in the 1950s.
Yeah.
And it happened that they wanted somebody from every part of the country. And it just happened there weren't very many applicants from the Southwest. There was 3 of us, 2 from Texas and me. And everybody else, most of them were from New York and other places. But it happened that year there were very few. And so I've always felt like that's how I got into that place. Although I had very good grades and everything at OU, but it changed my whole life because that allowed me. My dream was to become a big league sports writer, and that allowed me to do that. And I couldn't have done it from here.
That's wonderful.
But
now
I got a daughter who graduated there. Now
is that right? Well,
yeah.
Congratulations.
And it's a lot. I mean, the time she went, it was $20,000 a year. It actually broke the family. But she now is the. I'm sorry to do this to your tape.
No.
But she is the international lobbyist for the motion picture industry. She's got the biggest job anybody ever had in our family, including me.
How about that?
She's got a big job in New York City.
Well, that's great.
But
she must have a great mother as well as a great dad.
Yeah, oh yeah, she does. Oh yeah. But Columbia does that. I mean, once you get there, then it's a lot easier for your kids and your grandchildren to get in. Those schools are like that.
I unfortunately didn't get far enough in that direction to even make applications.
I'm sorry I interrupted your story, though, because it is important.
No, very important. I'm glad to know that now. So I called Mr. Sam Lowe, unbeknownst to Mr. McFarland. And I told him what had happened to me. He said, Billy, get on the next train. I need you. I need you badly. I said, what are you going to have me doing? He said, a lot of things. a lot of things I don't want to tell you about on the telephone, but we'll start you on a linotype till we get the other things worked out. He knew I was pretty fast on a linotype machine. So by that time, I could afford a handbag and some clothes. And so I arrived at Fort Worth, and he met me at the train and brought me down to the plant, and I met Mr. Douglas Thompson. And Mr. Douglas Thompson, each time I met one of these men, I thought they were about the smartest men I'd ever met. Well, Mr. Douglas Thompson was a brilliant man. He had tremendous vision. He made wonderful grades all the way through school, and a very religious man, and he was either going to become a great preacher. He is the originator of church papers. I think he is. You ready to go?
Go ahead. Yes.
Okay, all right. Now, he conceived the idea when he got out of Columbia to start a chain of newspapers all over the United States. And he was going to have, like in Oklahoma City, use that for example, be the Oklahoma City Star, but be the First Baptist Church edition of the Oklahoma City Star.
Sure.
He put up the First Baptist Church. And thank you, Wyndham. Do you gentlemen?
Not right now, thank you.
And then he had, before I came with him, he started one in Dallas and in Fort Worth and Houston, Texas, and Memphis, Tennessee. Now here again, Mr. Douglas Thompson and I became very close friends. I like to know the people I'm working for, and
yes.
I always worked hard at it, and it paid off. Well, I just, you do it, you don't. So I cut out the tennis playing, so I didn't have time. I did, and I didn't, and you're going to get a kick out of it. I'll tell you about something in just a few minutes now. So I enrolled in Texas Christian University. At that time, there was Mr. Douglas Thompson introduced me around, and he was a big shot. With the he really was. I was a lucky cuss, just everywhere I turned. About 90% of my success, or whatever it's been, I think has been luck to be in the right time at the right place for the things that happen in my life. So then I got off to a good start there, and it wasn't long before I learned why Mr. Sam Lowe really wanted me to come up there. And in the universities, then it's good old days where we had chapel services. You could say prayers and do anything you wanted to do. The Supreme Court didn't tell you you couldn't do all these things. As far as I'm concerned, I wish we'd go back to those days. Really. I mean, maybe just getting off the subject just a moment. I heard a tape the other day that's the greatest tape I ever heard in my life. Peter Jennings. I hope you heard it. It was on the subject of AIDS. It was tremendous. And it was over an hour long. That's after I cut out the commercials. It was an hour and a half with the commercials. And I taped that. And I'm going to show that tape to every group I can get to sit. I'll guarantee you they don't want AIDS.
Yeah, that's right.
There's no safe sex. Forget it, as far as AIDS is concerned. And now, that's a far field now. Where was I?
Well, we were at TCU, and you were just starting there,
right.
and you were working.
So, it wasn't long before Mr. Sam Lowe, I got well acquainted with the Tomlinson, and then he told me, he said, now, Bill, I'm going to tell you why I really wanted you to come here. I was enrolled in school, I had just the right courses I wanted, and my right courses is always business first and journalism second. But I wanted to be at the business end and the journalism part of it. And so he said, in this school, with the chapel meetings, that the pretty boys always get elected president of universities. The good-looking, handsome boys, what he meant, of course, get elected editors of the paper. And said the one they just elected was one of the finest young men I ever know, but said he's so dumb when he comes to his paper. He said he doesn't know which end's up, that he doesn't know how to write, he can't sell advertising, that he's just a boy that the girls elected, and said the paper's losing money hand over fist. The first thing you know, we're going to cut them off. They're not paying the bills. Now this is funny. So right away then he called, his fellow was named Ted Brown. And he got us together, and we had an evening meal together. And Sam Lowe really sold me to Ted Brown. He said, Ted, if you want someone to make you a hero, you let Bill Atkinson come and help you put this paper out. Because they had officers and everything. You had a staff up there, but no one on staff knew what they were doing, not really. When they hadn't had the experience that I had. And as I saw it, they didn't know what they were doing. They were putting out a very poor paper and losing money every week. So Ted Brown and I just hit it off just like that. He was not only a handsome guy, but he was a smart guy, and he was a nice guy. And it took me a number of months to learn he was very wealthy. I didn't know that. But his dad owned, now you're talking about lucky me, his dad owned huge ranches all around San Angelo, Texas. Well, you never heard of this before either. And so he was always telling me about his dad, doing this, doing that. So he said, please give up that job down there and come and help me. And so Sam Lowe told me, he said, Bill, it's worth it. And I said, well, with one understanding, if you will, you go ahead and keep the title and let me run the paper, and the girls will know, won't know any different, and we'll really get with it and start putting the paper out for you. And then within 60 days, we were just putting out a bang-up paper and making real money on it.
This is a school paper?
University paper. Put out once a week. Skiff was the name of it. And so I went to see the dean. I told Ted what I was up to. I said, Ted, listen, there's no sense in this. I'm making my tuition, and I'm paying for the paper. But by golly, we're making money. At least let's split the profits. And he said, well, you go sell the dean on it. So I did. And so I made a business arrangement with the deal and signed the contract whereby the school couldn't lose money, or if they did, give me 30 days notice and we were out, or less than that. And so, but I told the dean this, I had to give him some solid reasons. And I said, you've seen the paper, and Ted told him, he said, this is the man that's been publishing this paper, doing a whole ball of wax, although his name's not been on the masthead. And he said to me, he said, okay, Mr. Atkinson, what do you plan to do in the future with this paper? I said, well, I just haven't been thinking about that, and I can substantially increase your enrollment of Texas Christian University. He said, what? We'll do good to hold what we have. I said, I'm telling you, you ask me what, and I'll tell you what. I said, how are you going to do it? I said, well, I'll put out 4 issues each year. I'd be there 2 years, see. Put 4 issues out each year, and I'll mail it to every senior in high school in West Texas. That's where all the students came from. In the first year, they got a big increase of students. First year. In the second year, another big increase.
What, 15, 20%, or was it?
I don't remember that. Don't remember the senior. I know they were just tickled to death. We had students. We had better football team. We had better everything. And because we were working at it.
When did you graduate? What year did you?
1928. And now I tell you another one of mine. Every now and then I do something sort of sneaky that's not quite right. So I tell you another.
You're the only person I ever met.
Do I?
Said you're the only person I ever met that did that.
Oh, yeah.
No, I was just teasing you.
I know.
Yeah.
I always sorry to say it, ever admitted. But I practiced with the tennis, but they found out I played tennis. And every now and then I have a little time, they want me to come out and practice with the first team. And I got to where they considered me qualified to be on the first team. I'd finally gotten that hard service that Tilden used to use, and it was hug the ground. That's when they had concrete courts then. So they had a big state tournament down in Houston, Texas. Now, I'm trying to think of his name in the younger years, and it never does come to me, but they had a man who's headquartered in Houston who owned one of the biggest hotels down there, and he was on the cabinet of the President of the United States at that time. I don't even know who the President was at that time.
Probably. Coolidge.
Could have been.
Hoover
It could
was
have
elected in 28, so Coolidge didn't that.
I bet you were right on that. This is a very wealthy man. And so, and he built medical arts buildings all over in big cities in the Southwest. Very wealthy. And by the way, he owned a big daily newspaper down there too. And so, I don't know which one now. But anyway, I called him before I left Fort Worth, before I left TCU. And talk to his secretary and let me talk to him. That was a lot of guts, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And he let me talk to him, and I told him what I was coming down there for, and I said, if I have something laid out for you that I think would be worth a lot of money to you, because I'm going to mail these papers in every home of every graduating student, and I believe it would be the best publication, the best publicity you ever got in your life. I think it will. Will you give me a chance just to show it to you? He said, of course I will. So I've been in town several days, so we gave him an appointment at 2 o'clock one afternoon, and that 2 o'clock was just 2 days after we were there, and the tennis match was all week long. Now, by golly, I tried my best to lose the first day, but I didn't want to miss it. Only reason I went down there, which is elder dad.
Yeah.
I didn't go down to play tennis. But I won the first day in spite of playing lackadaisical. And the next morning, believe it or not, I threw the game in order that I wouldn't miss that appointment with him. So I'm showing you now how my how I value sports as regard to business. See? And you don't quite put it that way because you had a lot of experience in sports work. So then, when I finished TCU, I knew I'd done pretty good in school. I got to tell you this fun little story. In the meantime, I've always been extremely competitive. Most all people are, I guess, but halfway successful. Sure. So then that goes back to Ruby, Junior, my wife, and she came to Carthage the last year I was there, and she was the beauty queen. So I decided, by golly, I was going to see if I couldn't get her to be my girlfriend. And I convinced her I was the only boy she should go with. So then she went over to junior college with me, and she was beauty queen there. And so I didn't have much time to see her. That's when you wore bloomers to play basketball, and they wouldn't let you see them play basketball because they were wearing bloomers. That's going way back.
It is.
And so, what do you think it is? So then when I came to TCU, her folks then wanted to wanted to teach, so she taught school. Then I finished at TCU in 2 years. Then now Ted Brown comes back into it. I told you that here's one thing that I didn't tell you. It's very important. I was doing the work for Ted Brown not more than 60 days or something like that. And tell you what kind of a gentleman this young man was. He went up on the platform one day. He said, as the publisher of the paper, I want to make an announcement to the entire student body. He said, first, W.P. Bill Atkinson, will you please come up here? I didn't want to go up there. I waved him off. Bill Atkinson, we're going to wait here till you come up here, so I had to go. He said, I now want to make a confession. The reason we've had such a good newspaper is because a real newspaper man with some experience is the one that's been putting it out. And he said, I've handled a lot of praise and a lot of other things, and I want to continue to do that for you guys, but this is the man putting, and I want to move, and I want all of you to go along with me. I want to be by acclamation. I want to make him the publisher of this gift, believe it or not. And of course, with that kind of a speech, I was made unanimous. Then within a few weeks after that time, this is to believe it or not, his dad bought a brand new duplex in Fort Worth, Texas. And I had one side of it and Ted Brown the other. If you think we weren't good friends, we were great friends. Then I really learned, my Lord, this guy's dad is a multimillionaire. He was very rich. So then he made me promise. Now you're going to get a bang out of this. Ruby and I we engaged for about 4 or 5 years. And so that was good for me because that meant that cut me out of social life. I didn't have any girlfriends in TCU. I was too busy anyway. And so I wasn't supposed to. Someone had told Ruby that anyway, and I'd been in trouble there. So, but anyway, Ted made me promise to come by on our honeymoon, San Angelo, and said, you've got to spend 3 or 4 days. I said, Bill, when you do, you're going to get surprised your life. Now, I went by, and the first thing was meet his dad, and the first thing they did was take me in the car. We left Ruby with his parents and his wife. He married a Fort Worth girl, by the way, an outstanding girl in the TCU. And they drove me over miles and miles and miles, all around San Angelo. He owned all the ground. Well, it just amazed me that anyone could own that much ground. But it just happened that his parents had bought huge ranches, and San Angelo had been carved up and built out a part of it, and he's already worth all kinds of money. And Ted wanted me to make my home there, so I want to go in partner with him. Dad's getting ready to retire, and let's make San Angelo one of the biggest cities in West Texas. That's confidence thing, wasn't it? I said, listen, Ted, I don't know one thing about the building business. And my dad proved that to me when he told me one day that I'd never be a carpenter, because he gave me the boards and the hammer and the nails and the lock and said, build a toolbox. And I built it. And when I put the lock on it, it was sucked in by the screwdriver. Could unscrew 4 screws and it would be open. So I said, now see what I mean? Well, that convinced me my dad was right, so I never occurred to me to be a builder. Didn't plan to be a builder. Didn't plan to be a developer. And nothing they could have said would have changed my mind. I was going to be a newspaper man because I knew the newspaper business. So I went on from there then to on around the way, and we got around the Alamo, and I just couldn't wait to see the Alamo. And my wife was wearing a beautiful tan embroidered dress. Her folks pretty well to do for a small town like that. And she started crying, and I said, what in the world is wrong with you? She said, I want to go home and see Mama. Well, I didn't see the Alamo, and neither did she. We went home to Mama. But I had the car full of pets of all kinds, and I just found another way to get rich on the way back. Down in Mexico, there all this powder they make down there. I had sampled a lot of it, so I was going to go back home and learn how to make that. Always working.
Always had another animal angle.
That's right. So then I went back then, and Mr. Douglas Thompson had made me a deal before I left. He said, you come back here. This is going to be your home. You're going to help me expand these church papers. So I worked for him, and I was lucky. I helped build up the Fort Worth Star. Not Fort Worth Stars. I don't know what. No, the Oklahoma City Star. It was Fort Worth Star. But anyway, whatever the paper's name. But now here's where you're talking about being fortunate and lucky. I didn't know how lucky I was. But I started the Oklahoma City Star from scratch. Well, I had the background for it. It was a lead pipe cinch. I was pretty fair writer, not like you, but I was a fair writer. But in those days, now I can't speak for today, but the people who were the church boards, whatever they called them, deacons or whatever, were the top people of the cities, because I now learn, I'm being mean when I say this, they wanted to be seen, they wanted to see and be seen. And to make them more prominent in the community, they had to be good church leaders. I don't know whether you've ever thought of that or not.
Sure.
That's the way I conceived it. But now, in so doing, and most of them were really outstanding men. They really were.
By the way, I just found all the Oklahoma City Stars. You know, we've got those at the historical site. We've got them in our warehouse.
Is that a fact?
A year ago, I went through them all.
Is that a fact?
Yeah. I was doing a project for the Historical Society on contract a year ago, trying to find all the newspapers that we didn't already have in the state, find out where they are so we can microfilm papers that we don't already have on microfilm. We've got all the journal, for instance, on microfilm. But at any rate,
Is that right?
yeah, we've got.
And you have all the Oklahomas too.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
We've got 85% of the papers.
You be nice to these people, because we got to find out some more information.
We've got 85% of the papers ever printed in Oklahoma back to 1844 on microfilm.
Well, now wait a minute. Are you associated with the Historical Society now too?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. What I do now is I work for the Historical Society. I'm their promotional director, and then I write the column for the Journal Record on the side now. I do the radio show on the side. Those are sidelines to me now, and I'm starting to write going to start doing some books. I've got a good shot of the book coming up pretty soon.
Well, you see how lucky and how fortunate I am.
Yeah.
To be able to talk to you too. That's typical of my life, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
But it is interesting that I just found the stuff. I know where they all are.
Well, what do you know about
They're
that?
the original copy. And we have not microfilmed all of them, but we're going to. That's part of the project.
What do you know?
'Cause
Well, now, can't you see? Let me just take one man and give you an example.
Yeah.
The first Christian church, Harvey Everest,
Yeah.
one of the greatest men that God ever
I know
did.
Harvey. Yeah, I do Harvey.
A
Yeah.
wonderful person. Well, now, he heard that Bill Alexander. You ever hear of Bill Alexander?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
My brother worked on that church. My brother helped build that church. We were in the labor union back in 50s. And
Is that right?
he helped build that church.
Mhm.
Yeah. I didn't know him though. I was too young then. When he was running for the Senate and everything, I didn't know him.
Well, I know all about that.
I bet.
I know all about that. Hey, you want to know what I thought about it? I said, oh, you're too great a preacher to do that.
Yeah.
Stay where you are. He was in demand all over the United States.
Yeah.
And he
Great
did
city.
something. You know where he built the church?
Huh?
I sold him the gun at a very low price. I had bought that whole Edgemere golf course.
I delivered one paper. I was paper boy in the 40s.
Yes.
I delivered one paper to that clubhouse twice a day for 6 years. I delivered the Daily Oklahoman. That clubhouse was on my paper route from 1944 to
Edgemere
1950.
golf course.
From 1944 to 1950.
Well,
And they had a chow dog there that scared the hell out of me twice a day.
well, what a small world.
Every morning and every night. Yeah, I knew the people. I was a boy. You know, I was 10 when I got that route in 1944, and I kept it until I was 16 in 1950.
This is most interesting.
I grew up a block from there. I mean, in those days, I lived a block or two from there on Eubanks Avenue.
Yes, yes. Well, now, you say, how did I ever get a hold of Edgemere golf course?
Yeah, I didn't know that happened. I thought that it went from the golf course to the church. I didn't know that.
Well, it was going to be auctioned off. And I got a hold of Steve Pennington. I'm way back down. I go way back. But that time, I'd become quite a good-sized building in Oklahoma City.
Yes, by that time.
By that time. And so I got a hold of Steve Pennington and John Lyons.
Mm-hmm.
And each of us had a particular quality on the building. It was a little bit more knowledgeable than the other. Steve Pennington was very good mechanically and very good on putting in sewer and water and streets.
Mm-hmm.
John Lyons was very good at designing homes and doing that just right. And I seemed to have the merchandising. I could sell them. So we were going to go into three-way partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
But I was the one that handled public relations, just like you see. I was the one who knew everybody in City Hall and got the plans and everything approved. So one day I got a call from the fire chief. I think the city manager called him and said, Bill Atkinson, you better get into Edgemere in a hurry. Someone has loosened the fire hydrant and the water is just pouring out. Well, I knew what happened without even going out there.
Yeah.
So I rushed out there in a hurry, and old Steve Penny was standing down the hill. Said, Bill, that damn thing really works good, doesn't it? Now, that's the way he engineered it, so he was saving money. Took the fire hydrant, opened it up, and the water ran where it's supposed to. Said, you don't need an engineer, you said.
Went right down the deep port.
That's right.
Where it's supposed to.
And then before we left those steps that day, in that auction, Bill Alexander came over to see me and put his arm around me. He said, Bill, I guess you know that we want this, but we can't bid against you on it. You fellows got a lot more money to do this. We can't do that. I said, okay, Bill, I knew him pretty well then. You just be quiet about how much ground you want. A lot more than you don't like to hear. And he was sort of greedy on that. You know,
Yeah, he still is. There's still a lot of land out there that won't be.
Boy, he took a chunk of that.
Yeah.
But I told him I'd try to sell the other two fellows and let him have it at exactly cost.
So you developed the homes north of there?
Yes, we did.
I remember when they built those.
All right. That's sort of a sidelight. Now, Harvey Everett. Let's get back to him. Now, there's an example of what I say.
Yeah.
Harvey Everett had one of the finest homes in town. He's one of the wealthiest men in town. White House is right.
I know
It
that.
burned, and you know all about that. And Harvey Everett was a very different, and that's where Bill Alexander told him about me. He said, you ought to really meet Bill Atkinson.
Oh, really?
Yes, he said he's quite a guy, and he said you fellows ought to get well acquainted. He's a good tennis player. I don't know who told him I was. And Harvey Everett had a tennis court on his home place. He had two sons, and he's one of the most loving fathers I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
And practically every weekend they would invite me out there, and then I was selling the papers.
This is way back in the 20s?
Way back.
When you first came?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Just a few years.
Yeah, Harvey started in the news business, too.
I know.
You know, that's what
how
he
he
was
made
doing.
his money. Right.
He started selling the Saturday Evening Post while he was at OU and built it into the biggest magazine distributorship in America.
That's right.
I sold Saturday Evening Post for a nickel at the Capitol in 1940 when I was 6
You know,
years
I
old.
hope that we keep on. I hope we keep on the subject and understand about it, because you know too darn much. That's something else.
Yeah, I interviewed Harvey one time.
Oh, you did?
About 6 years. We were still pretty strong. About 8, maybe 5, 6 years ago. I asked him, he was the greatest fundraiser this town ever had.
Oh, you better believe it.
I said, how did you get those guys like you to contribute all that money? He said, I used to tell them one thing. He said, go ahead and do it. It'll make you feel better. He said, really, it was true. When you give money for something else that's a good cause, you do feel better.
Yeah.
He said, it works every time.
He was a charming personality, man.
Great man.
And when I'd go out and we'd play tennis, I never would. Well, Harvey was a pretty good player, but his boys weren't too good. But we'd all play about the same, to keep it an even Steven game. And then, I'd never before in my life seen a man kiss his son on the cheek. But when his boys make a good play, he'd rush over instead of shaking the hand of the family back and forth and kiss him on the cheek. I thought that was a loving thing to do.
Yeah.
It struck me as being that way. He was a great man, just a wonderful person. And as you know, he was always regarded as one of the outstanding civic leaders and businessmen in Oklahoma City for his entire life. Now, that's the group that I grew up with. And you know right away they were all 20, 25 years my senior. So again, see how fortunate I was?
Yes.
Now, where did I meet all those men? Just where I've just told you.
The church.
The leadership of the churches. So how lucky can you be again?
That's an amazing connection. I never would have thought about that connection. Even if I'd known you ran the Star, I wouldn't have thought about that.
Right.
See now.
But you see now why I got acquainted with
Sure,
everybody in this dog.
of course.
And I tell you, the guys like Dave Eddy and Sil Gorman, you knew all those men.
Yeah.
They would have fought for me, fought a war for me. Let me tell you a little story about. Okay, when I was publishing church, you astound me. The things you know.
Well, we may have to do this another time to finish this, but that's okay by me. I'm glad. But I really think it's great. Yeah, go ahead. I just tell you story.
I can tell you things here you never heard before.
Yeah, you've already done that a lot. That's great.
Now OCU, and I'm going to brag a bunch now.
Yeah.
OCU was in deep trouble.
Yes.
You remember that?
Well, the time I remember may have been later. You're talking about the 30s when they were in trouble?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know about that. I knew about they were in trouble before Walker came. That was 1970s. But
No, C.Q. Smith was president then.
My brothers both went there.
Yes.
I grew up.
You remember C.Q. Smith?
I know of him.
All right.
I lived later, after we lived at Eubanks. We lived at 30th in Indiana, 4 blocks north of there. I still own that home.
Is that right?
Yeah, my personal office is in that home, 4 blocks north.
How about that?
And I taught at OCU 2 years ago. For 2 years.
Now you're going to be inspired when I tell you something else.
I know, and I remember the old football. I used to play football in that old field, Goldbug Field. I used to play when I was a boy.
It amazes me. You're taking the story away from me.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead now. But I don't know anything about this. All I knew is that you
having
taught
more fun
at
than I had in my life.
Yeah.
Because there's always a lot of people around like to get someone to come and speak. It's a halfway lively speaker and say something adventurous, and it's for free. So therefore, I had all kinds of invitations to go to OU, OSU, and Edmond, all around.
When you were running the Star.
Yes.
Okay.
And OSU.
Did you make that known, or how did you?
Oh, I made one speech, and other people tell someone else the first things they speak on. In business and merchandising and advertising, in journalism, of course, I speak on any of those subjects, and that's the areas in which they would invite me. As a matter of fact, I'd be bragging if I was doing this. Well, since I mentioned it, I had such demand for a while for making talks on merchandising and salesmanship that OCU sponsored matches downtown, and I've had 200 and 300 people in one class.
Really?
And this is going to surprise you. Guess what I used? My background, my knowledge, and the New Testament.
The New Testament?
New Testament.
With merchandising, huh?
You better believe it. Did you ever stop to think, I don't care what religion you have, that if you will follow the rules that were set down by Jesus Christ, you can't hardly go wrong.
Yeah.
Do you buy that?
Yeah, I do buy it.
And
maybe not for the same reason, but I do.
Well, if you're doing others, doing the be honest with them, and establish high integrity with them, you're going to make friends.
Sure.
You've got to have friends before they listen to you.
What I told my kids was that what he really did was tell us how to live. He didn't really tell us how not to live. As a matter of fact, he told us how to live.
Right.
If you just listen to him,
right,
you're you're going to be okay.
Right. As right as you can be.
Most of us will.
That's what I thought about. Now, a lot of people thought I was crazy when I was playing offline in the mathematics class. But then what happened was this. Now, you're going to get a big bang out of this. I made a number of talks out at OCU. And the business manager came in one day and heard me talk. And obviously, he went back and told the president, said, this guy's got something on the ball. So then Gilbert Garrison resigned or something happened, the head of the journalism department. And he came down, the business manager called me on the phone. He pulled a quickie on me. He said, I want you to come out here and take over the title, at least to finish out this year of Gilbert Garrison's journalism department. You'd be a big help to us, and we need your help. And I decided that whoever heard of me, Bill Atkinson, the head of a journalism department in school of any size. And I said, I'll have to talk to my boss. I said, I already talked to him for you. He'd already called and talked to Douglas Thompson and told him, believe it or not, that they'd rearranged their classes to be in the afternoon and the nights. And if I could put the papers out in the morning. Well, I could. No question about that. So this is where I pulled a coup. Now, I'm bragging again now. Up to that time, OCU was just going down, down, down. Bob Stewart at Mid-Continental Life Insurance Company's one. They owed hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was just going down, down, down. Bob Stewart at Mid-Continental Life Insurance Company's one. They owed hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was just going down, down, down. Bob Stewart at Mid-Continental Life Insurance Company's one. They owed hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was just going down, down, down. Bob Stewart at Mid-Continental Life Insurance Company's one. They owed hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was just going down, down, down. Bob Stewart at Mid-Continental Life Insurance Company's one. They owed hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was just going down, down, down. Bob Stewart at Mid-Continental Life Insurance Company's one. They owed hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was just going down, down, down. Bob Stewart at Mid-Continental Life Insurance Company's one. They owed hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was just going down, down, down. Bob Stewart at Mid-Continental Life Insurance Company's one. They owed hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was just going down, down, down. Bob Stewart at Mid-Continental Life Insurance Company's one. They owed hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was just going down, down, down. Bob Stewart at Mid-Continental Life Insurance Company's one. They owed hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was just going down, down, down. Bob Stewart at Mid-Continental Life Insurance Company's one. They owed hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was just going down, down, down. Bob Stewart at Mid-Continental Life Insurance Company's one. They owed hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was just going down, down, down. Bob Stewart at Mid-Continental Life Insurance Company's one. They owed hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was just going down, down, down. Bob Stewart at Mid-Continental Life Insurance Company's one. They owed hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was just going down, down, down. Bob Stewart at Mid-Continental Life Insurance Company's one. They owed hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was just going down, down, down. Bob Stewart at Mid-Continental Life Insurance Company's one. They owed hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was just going down, down, down. Bob Stewart at Mid-Continental Life Insurance Company's one. They owed hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was just going down, down, down. Bob Stewart at Mid-Continental Life Insurance Company's one. They owed hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was just going down, down, down. Bob Stewart at Mid-Continental Life Insurance Company's one. They owed hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so finally, I just got to tell you this. Mr. E.K. Gaylord, well, I'll tell it in the proper sequence. Mr. C.Q. Smith came to see me one day and he said, Bill, and by the way, I looked so young until I was about 33 or 34. I still looked like I was 22 or 24. I wore glasses without glasses, just rims. And I tried to grow a mustache, and it turned out to be white, and that didn't do me any good. So I had problems looking a little older. Yeah. And you know, looking back, that was to my advantage.
Yeah, it was.
When I'd go in,
when you're that age, you don't think it was. You think you need to be.
No, that's right. That is right. So Dr. Smith said, Bill, it seemed like everything you've done around this school, you've been able to help us do a lot of good. Well, the first thing I did was hire Jack Bell. That rings a bell. You know Jack Bell.
Well, he was with the Oklahomans later, right?
He was the editor of the Oklahoma. Later came with the Associated Press.
I never knew him personally.
Well,
but I know who he was.
next he became nationally the head of the National Associated Press.
Mm-hmm.
He was a top flight
I went
newspaper.
to the AP in New York, but I think he was gone by that time.
Jack Bell was a smart man. Well, now anyone, I'm, at least in my experience, rather flattered to be asked to come out and speak to a university of any kind.
Mm-hmm.
And OCU didn't have a bad name at all. It had an excellent name, particularly in certain departments. So I went down one day and asked Jack Bell if he would please, I gave him quite a plea on how much we need his help. He said, you don't have to give me all this sales talk. I'd be glad to come out there and teach a class with you 2 days a week. And he did. Then after a while, my golly, things picked up. We started getting newspaper ads, stories in that paper like mad. And that's what we hadn't had. That's what was wrong with school. They weren't getting any publicity. Public relations department wasn't functioning at all. And so then, you ever heard of Miss Edith Johnson?
Yeah, I knew Edith Johnson.
You did know her? Don't let me get keep story back. Edith Johnson. She was an editorial writer. She wrote
Oh yes, I did not know it. Yeah, no, I was thinking.
I know of her.
I was thinking of Edith Gaylord. Yes, I know of her, but I did not know her. Yeah.
Well, I went down to see Miss Edith Johnson. Jack Bell's suggestion. She came out and took the 2 things. Man, we practically took the Oklahoma over. We had OCU and Society statements, newspapers.
Well,
we had stories.
That's the Edith I know. I know her through the gridiron.
Yeah.
But I still know her.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. I've been in the gridiron the last 12 years, and I've known her through that. Yeah. She's still a.
From the gridiron picture.
She's still a
kick out of that.
She's still a big supporter of the gridiron.
Oh yeah. Is she still living?
Yes. She's not real. She's a little fragile now. But as of last year, she was. That's Edith. That's EK's. That's Eddie's sister, right?
No. It's Edith Johnson, another person. I believe.
Then I've got the wrong one.
I believe she was older than that, wasn't she?
Yes.
But she was.
I'm thinking of Edith.
I believe she's the
But
sister.
she was society editor. That's when you said that's what made me think that. But yeah,
no, I don't believe
I'm
that.
thinking of Edith
She was
Gaylord.
an editorial writer, the one I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm wrong. Okay.
But don't remind me to tell you another funny little story after this, but I got to tell you this one. We were doing so well at that time. Dr. C.Q. Smith came in and he said, Bill, he flattered me. He said, you know, it hadn't been a few of this university was on the brink of ruin. He said, we're doing good now. We were calling in. Well, I practiced some of the things I learned at CCU. I was sending papers to the seniors. And there's a lot of publicity. Well, we're working at it. And we started increasing enrollment pretty fast. So then he told me, he called me to talk very privately one day, and he said, Bill, Bob's church is getting tough and rough, and he's the meanest guy that ever lived. He's mean, son of a gun.
What's school his son?
And he's Mid-Continent Life Press. You ever heard of him?
Oh yeah, I went to school with his son, Bob Jr.
You did?
Yeah. Yeah. His son was a year older than I was at both classes and at OU.
I'm going to tell you something right now you don't know about.
I was down the ranch in Durant.
He's one of the biggest. He's one of the richest men in the United States.
Oh, I know it.
Okay. You guys think we know what we're talking about? Do we know?
That's a privately owned company, and that thing, yes, I know.
You better believe it. Now let me tell you, this is really going to ring a bell when I tell you this now. I went out to talk to his secretary, and you know, big businessmen like that have good secretaries. She's a middle-aged woman, and the fact that I looked like a kid helped me with her. And I told her I wanted to see Mr. Stewart. I represented, I don't know how many hundred students we had then, but I told her the number. And she said, well, I know all about that, and they owe a lot of money. And she said, Mr. Gaylord came out here one day last week, and he wouldn't even see him, so I don't believe he'd see you. I said, well, I'd heard that, but said, I go to school out there, and I teach out there, and I know I'm with these kids every day. And so I started opening my book up and giving them names in alphabetical order and who they were and how many of their family and where they lived. And if they got school was closed, their education was finished. So I got to her heartstrings. She said, okay, I'll make an appointment for you. So she got me up to see Bob Stewart, and he was sort of ready for me, and I got a big kick out of him. He just was real nice to me. And huge office. You ever see his office? Huge.
I've been in that penthouse up there, but I don't remember the office.
Well, that penthouse, what it was. It
Yeah.
had the whole top floor.
Yeah. We used to use it for dances when I was in high school.
Is
We
that
had
right?
yeah, there was a kind of a ballroom up there, or was in the 50s.
Yes, well, it was big enough for
We
that.
used to have
Yeah.
dances up there.
Well, and one end, he had his offices, and the other end, he had his home.
Yeah, I was never in there, but yeah.
And I'm going to tell you a story that you'll never forget. He weighed about 350 pounds, huge man. He'd rear back, and he had to spit tuna about 15 feet away. He's on Oriental rugs, but he had a big rubber mat about that big for safety insurance, and they'd hit that thing and zing. He said, "I bet you can't do that." I said, "I bet I'm not going to try." So he finally said, "Okay, tell me your story." I said, "I've thrown a lot bigger men than you out of here. They're going to pay me that money. They lied to me too many years. They got to pay up, or I'm going to take it away from them." I said, "Mr. what in the world would you do with it?" He said, "I'll stack hay in it if I do anything else." Can you imagine? He was rough and tough.
Yeah.
So finally I talked to him, and finally he sort of began to break the ice. He said, "Listen, I want you to meet my son. I got one of the brightest little fellows you've ever seen." And obviously he'd married one of his secretaries, which is a much younger woman. She's about half his age. And he was before you went to school with Bobby.
He would have been, he graduated from high school in 50. So.
Yeah, okay.
So he would have been a boy in the 30s. Yeah.
Right. He called his wife. He said, "Sweetheart, bring Bobby in here. I've got a young man in here I'm wanting to meet." And when he came in, it took about 30 minutes to dress. She said, "Well, I got to dress him." "That's okay. Bring him in like this." "No, she's going to dress him." So she did. In a little Lord Fauntleroy suit.
Yeah, I bet.
Just as cute as a bug there. And he came over and sat on my lap. And can you imagine that now? And you graduated with him.
Yeah, he runs that company now, I think.
Yeah.
I've never seen him in the last few years, but
Well, I tell you,
he called me once.
Bob Stewart says, "Well, what is your plan?" I said, "Let me go back, and I'll ask the president to call the Board of Regents together, the directors of the school, and we'll talk to the bishop. And we'll work out a plan, and if I'll stay with him. I'll do everything I can." Because he complimented me very highly. He said, "You're one of the few men that ever got in here and sold me anything." He said, Will you get out and help them raise the money?" And I said, "If you think I can, I will. I'll try it." So I let them work out the plan, and by golly, we worked it out. It worked out. Now, this is a little world. Bob Stewart says, the best way to get along with anyone is to get acquainted with them, is try to learn as much about them as they know about you. And I had a lot of curiosity. I said, "Mr. how in the world did you become so successful so early in life?" He said, "Oh." I said, "I had no idea. I never heard you in all of this." He said, "Yes, there were 4 of us that opened the West Texas oil field." Now, you've heard this.
Yeah.
You heard
I
that.
didn't know this story, but I've heard it.
They said 4 of us opened it. There's 2 of my sisters and I and Todd Lee Wynn. And said Todd Lee Wynn is one of the wealthiest men in Dallas, Texas.
I don't know that story.
Todd Lee Wynn. Now, he said, "Now, this young man that you just met a while ago, I want you to meet him. Because one of these days, you fellas are going to get acquainted. You're going to know each other. And I can tell you now that my 2 sisters are getting way up in age. And he'll inherit all their money. He'll inherit all my money. And I'm going to teach him to be so quiet and go so deep with it, no one will even know where he is." And he did, didn't he?
He did. He sure did.
He went down on the ranch, didn't he?
Yeah, he took us down to that ranch down by Durant one time. And,
Well,
but I didn't know any of that. I didn't know much about. All I knew was the insurance business. So I had no idea how wealthy he was until not too long ago. Somebody told me.
well, he's that type, and he was taught to be that way.
Yeah.
But he loved horses.
And when I was in school with Bob, I rode a bicycle to school, to class in high school, and all those those other kids had cars.
Mm-hmm.
But Bob was very nice to me. I mean, he didn't treat me like a poor kid. He just treated me like one of the guys.
Oh, yes.
So I never had the feeling I was around somebody that wealthy when I was around Bob. I don't remember him that way at all.
No, well, no.
He was very kind to me.
No, his mother was...
He was a little older than I was.
His mother was a fine lady, And he was a good-looking boy, I
Yeah.
bet you, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah,
He was
yeah.
a nice-looking
Strong,
little fellow.
strong looking.
Yeah. I lost touch with him, and I knew that there was no reason for me to stay in touch with him because he was out of my league entirely. I was doing different things.
So it must have been during that period in the 30s when you were at OCU that you began to build then, huh?
Correct.
And by the way, I got another one for you that you...
All right.
Doc Nichols was a cousin of my grandfather.
Oh. Here we go again.
My father knew him well. I did not, but my father
Doc
knew him.
Nichols.
He knew him well.
Well, let me tell you what a great man he was. When my wife and I first came up here, I had a brand new automobile. When I finished TCU, I bought, I'm bragging again now.
It's okay.
I came out with a brand new car with $4,000 in the bank. And we finished our honeymoon, and we did a little work for it. And then we opened the Oklahoma City Star. Nichols Hills was just getting started good.
I've got the original perspective.
How about that?
I've got it.
How about
1928,
that?
yeah.
Boy, I'd like to get a copy of
I'll
it.
give you a copy.
Now, there's a fellow that had vision. Really had vision.
This prospectus will tell you that.
Oh, yes. He had those huge stables out there, and fine horses, and people to teach him how to ride these fine horses. He had everything that anyone could want, along with those gorgeous homes. And he knew how to plan. He planned Nichols Hills the way it should have been planned. And he not only planned, he built this big country club, and he put it all off. Now, I want to divert just a moment and tell you something. When I started Midwest City, everybody was just chewing hard on me, trying to do everything they could to keep me doing. So they used every psychological thing I've ever heard of to try to trip me up. They did Stanley Draper and E.K. Gaylord. So one day, even to this point, that they invited me down to be the main speaker one day. Whoever heard of that? And it was 2 years after that Midwest City started. And it was actually guaranteed success then as far as I was concerned. I knew we were headed. Why they didn't invite me to be the speaker, I don't know. But now Doc Nichols is quite a guy. He was in the audience. And
Now, speaker, what?
Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce, one of the speakers on one of the regular days. And so Doc Nichols got up one time and he waved his hand. Well, that meant to me, he said, I'm letting him talk. That type of guy, you know. And he said, Bill, we knew each other real well. He said, Bill, now let me tell you something. You're going to build this town, and if there's any doubt at all, I better give you a few tips right now. He's a clever guy. He said, who are you doing money? Who are you doing business with? He said, well, I'm doing business with Liberty National Bank. They're doing business with their own bank. He said, go over to Chuck Bose and borrow all the money you can from him, because he didn't know a damn thing about building homes, and he'll never throw you into bankruptcy, because there's no way he's got to stay with you. Of course, everybody just roared, you know. And Chuck Bose roared too. Chuck Bose is one of my very dear friends.
I interviewed him about Chip Doc one time. I'll tell you that story, but we'll go ahead and finish. I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead and tell me.
Well, I just asked him. One time I was going to write a book on Doc, and Dick Coyle, of course, is my distant cousin, his grandson. We were going to write a book on Doc Nichols, and then the family stopped it. But I went down and interviewed Chuck, about 7 years ago or 6 years ago, to get me to tell stories all I could remember about Doc Nichols. And he told about a story I know you know. First of all, he said he complained to Doc when he went out and bought that land, because he said he could have bought prettier land out where Twin Hills Golf Course is.
Yeah.
Even cheaper. He said he thought Doc made a bad deal. He said, why the hell did you go out and buy that old prairie out there with not a tree on it when you could have had this pretty land over? And he said Doc got out a map of the railroad between here and Kansas City and said that's one of the Nichols Hills is one of the highest points of land between here and Kansas City.
Right.
He said rich people like to live on hills.
Right. He's right.
Now the reason I should add is because in those days they could get the breeze on hills. You know, it wasn't just looking down on people, although I think that was implied.
Yeah.
But that's my opinion. At any rate, he also told a story about Doc having Chuck calling his note one time.
Oh,
He
yeah.
went down there with a stack of cigar boxes full of keys
Yeah.
of houses.
Right.
Said, "Okay, Chuck, you're in the real estate business." Chuck said he walked out with another $50,000.
Well, that bears.
Would you believe that? You knew him. I didn't know him.
Oh,
My father
yeah.
did.
I believe that. He'd do that.
It's a pretty funny story.
You know, Doc Nichols was a dentist before he went to Billman.
Yeah.
And now when Ruby and I were out in this brand new car driving around,
Yeah.
we couldn't afford a home like that. Couldn't think, oh my God, we were doing well to do. I was only making $50 a week, so you know what kind of house I had. But guess who stopped us? Fine looking man. Couldn't have been more courteous. He wanted a short run. I said, Mr. Nichols, I'm flattered to death to meet you. I said, I've been around enough. I'm a very young man, but I've been around enough to know you've done a great job. But to meet the man that's doing it, and you be this courteous, you know we're not prospecting. I know that, but listen, Bill, you'll know someone else that is prospecting. You'll tell them, come on, I want to show you the house. He showed me the house, he showed me the barn, and people everywhere, but he
Stable out at Nichols Hill,
yeah.
too?
Why he took all that time on little me?
You were just driving around.
Just driving around. Do you think I wanted his boots with men on? And I just couldn't say enough good words.
My father lived with him in 1917. When my father first came to town from Stroud, he was the only family.
Yes.
My grandfather was a preacher up at Methodist preacher at Stroud, and Doc had visited them back in 1910. And so when Dad came to town in 1917, he was 18 or 19 at the time. He moved in with Doc for a while. And he was living with him when he took him over to 19th, 20th, and 21st Streets and showed him the houses there in Heritage Hills that he was going to build on that old clay hill. Dad told me the story many times. Well, I live in one of those houses right now on 21st Street that Doc built when my father was living with him.
How about that?
I think that's a kick.
Who'd ever thought that I'd been talking to a man who knows so much, we have so much in common as far as personality?
I never met Doc at all. But Dad knew him till he died. But I never met him. He built an apartment house on East Drive when Doc was building those.
Yes.
But Dad got hurt by the depression and lost his home.
Well, Doc Nichols, his job was always up.
Yeah.
He owed everybody in town. He was just
Yeah.
flat broke, but he never knocked his arbor down.
Mm-hmm.
But anyone that had the vision to go
Yeah.
for the most expensive home,
Yeah.
but yet go out here and build a complete community, and you're going to start something and take all the egg and chicken business away from Arkansas.
Oh, the Cobble Park,
Yeah. Can you imagine that?
Amazing. I think the sale is a
I
remarkable
do
project
too.
when you look at it.
It is.
Because everybody looks at that as a street. But you know, that was a mixed-use project. It was an integral project with those apartments and everything all around it.
Complete
The
building.
streetcar line on one side. The whole idea was to be able to live, use public transportation, and have a place to shop and do it all by foot.
Right?
You could live without a car in that neighborhood.
He's way ahead of his time, wasn't he?
Well, they call those new towns now and mixed-use developments and
Right.
things. He was way, really way.
Why in the world didn't you write a book on the man's life?
Well, I want to, and I will yet, but I had, at that time, we were talking about this, the way it had to be financed was through the family.
Oh.
And Dick Coyle, who I went to school with also, he was a classmate of Bob Stewart's, by the way, was ready to do it, and is a good friend, but his mothers and her sisters were not ready to. And I had no way of getting around that. I didn't know what to do about it. So, but we'll do that yet. We'll do that yet.
Well, you left us hanging though with those years.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's right. Now, what did we?
Well, we had.
OCU?
You had asked Bob Stewart, and you said you'd raise the funds.
Yes, I
So I
said
guess
I'd do my best to help them do it, and we did do it.
You did.
And
you know how much you had to raise?
Well, it was $700,000.
Which is a lot of money, like millions today.
Oh my Lord, yes. But it was raised, and the school stayed open and prospered, and we did quite well.
That must have been the middle 30s when that happened. Before you started building.
Well, here's what happened on that. They never did pay very much money. I love teaching better than anything in the world. I do believe. And just got to tell you two little instances. I like a challenge. And the first class I went to see out there, they lost, the professors had lost control of the kids. And I went to this room where I was supposed to teach this class. I've forgotten what the class was now. But they weren't there. So I went to the teacher in the next room. I said, "Do you have any idea where this class could be?" He said, "Yes, that's a bunch of rambunctious kids, some of the smartest kids we have. But the teacher's not right there on the Johnny spots, about 25 or 30 of them. They go over to the little place, you know where I was, and they play bridge." Well, maybe I was a few minutes late. I didn't know I was. I said, "Well, fine." So I took my textbook, went over, there they were. I said, "Okay, guys, roll your cards up. We're going to have our lessons." So I joined them. a lot of crazy things. Now, another crazy thing I remember happening. I was warned by Mr. Schwartz, and you have one fellow by the name of S.G. Felix, that he's almost as old as you, Bill, and he's had to work his way through school. He's on the fire department, and he only takes half subjects or a third of the subjects. That's why he's been so long. But he's brilliant. Says a brilliant guy, just a brilliant man, and said it's going to take someone like you to hold him in check. But I can tell you now what he's going to do. He likes to embarrass the teachers, and everybody teaches just hates his guts because he's smarter than they are, and he embarrasses them on certain subjects. So he was smart book-wise. He had those memories that he just read something one time and he had it. His name was S.G. Felix, and he always sat on the front row. He weighed about 300 pounds. He was one of the star football players of the Golden Bug.
Yeah, well, he had 18 ice hotel skills.
Right, that's right. You're naming some names I remember. And when I took this class, there he was. And the very first question they asked me was meant to do me in. The very first one. And I just stayed as poised as I could in the class where you heard a pin drop. They wanted to see what I was going to do. I said, "Miss Pierce, do you really want me to answer that question to you?" Sure. I said, "It's going to make you look pretty foolish." He said, go ahead. I don't believe you can answer it. So when I answered it, made him look stupid. Because it had to do with the newspaper business. And I know the newspaper business. And no kid is going to turn me upside down in the newspaper business. And then the kids laughed and applauded me for shutting him up. And guess what happened? This young man finished OCU, and then he came to see me and he says, "You've meant more to my life than anyone I've ever met. And will you tell me what, and you know what kind of grades you make with straight A's. What would you recommend?" This is history now. What would you recommend? Courses you recommend to me? I said, "Well, Felix, you can take any course you want to, in my opinion, and you're a brilliant young man, no question about it. I'd recommend, though, you get a law degree and become a CPA." That's how I remember how things happened. That's when taxes began to become a factor in this country. That's when you better know tax laws. He's one of the first tax attorneys in the state of Oklahoma, and he became one of the #1 national taxmen. S.G. Felix. I'm proud of that.
Did he work with you and you're doing your...
Yes, he sure did.
You started doing...
He sure did. As a matter of fact, that was the time Barbara Penn won the LSU where we had 40 or 50 corporations. He's the one who set them up. He always could find the loopholes. See? And the corporations could be just a certain size and pay a certain amount of taxes. So you take a bigger deal and split it up. And we had 35, 40 corporations. And they turned out to be a little problem later on, but he was quite a brilliant man. Now, do what?
Is she dead?
Yes, she passed away. That's one thing that bothers me is I'm telling Barbara, I look at all the history we gained together, my Lord, frankly, I want to kick the bucket. I got to hurry and finish this. So anyway, you say, how did I get in real estate then?
Yeah.
I teaching school just didn't pay enough money. And I went down to the Blue Ribbon Realtors, and they were the biggest in town, and applied to them for a job. And they didn't know anything about me. They didn't know I taught a class of merchandise or something. I just sat there and played pretty dumb and just listened to what they had to say. And I thought they were the dumbest bunch of guys I ever must have been. They didn't know what to do. in my opinion. But I didn't tell them that. I was a member of the staff. So the head man was good, but he had a bunch of dumb salespeople, I thought. So I got out. Now this is the way I sold houses, and I sold them like hotcakes. I would take mops, brooms, rakes, everything it took to make that house look as new as you could look. I'd rake the yard up and make it look like it just built yesterday, if I could. I'd clean all the dust off. I'd sweep. I'd get it ready to show. I'd clean the windows. I'd do everything. Work hard to get the house ready to show first. And then I found that helped a whole lot. And then I began to get people attending these meetings. I'd hear these guys talk and laugh about, well, they sold a house in a certain row. So I finally found out why they got such a kick out of it. They were hard to sell there. And there was termite areas. Did you know that?
Yeah.
You know what sort of termites, don't you? Well, I didn't know. So I went down to Adams. You know Adams Map Company, I bet you.
Adams Map Company?
Adams Map Company. They used to have the maps all well. I went down to that. I bet you didn't know this. There used to be an awful lot of tributaries to rivers. I bet you, did you know a river used to run right down in the middle of Oklahoma City?
No, I didn't know that.
Sure did. Well, I got me maps of all the tributaries way back of the river and the tributaries from the river. There used to be a lot more water coming through Oklahoma than does now, apparently. And where those tributaries were, creeks, the builders would go in there. Building was pretty good there for a while, and they just bulldoze these trees down and fill up this creek. Then get down to solid ground where they build a house, and in the back, they just let it decay.
All that moisture, the termites would come up, huh?
For the thousands, and they eat houses.
I didn't know that.
That's right. Well, and I made me a maps, and I called them termites. I just colored them termite areas. And then I classified the whole city of Oklahoma City and evaluated it as best I could. And when I'd have a customer, I had customers literally coming to see me, seeking my advice on how to buy a home. Because I learned the trade. And I learned in Oklahoma City, it's in buying any property, I can tell you right now, Dr. Pinker's right, it's location.
Well, when did you start? When did you go to the realtors? When did you start? 1935?
Well, I have to go back. Let me see, I was 1928 when I came in. I was 22 years old. I was with the church papers, I guess, about 28, I guess. Then I started out teaching school, maybe 28, 29. I was pretty young. And then I started selling real estate 29 to 30. And then
so maybe 35 or 36, 1935.
Oh, by then I started Midwest State time at 36, 37, 38
years old.
Yes.
But then you probably were real estate probably 1935, probably the year 1935.
No, I started.
You said 6 years. You were at the church paper. That would have been about 34, right?
Well,
then you were at OCU what, 2 years?
Yes.
So that would have been about
3 years. 3 years.
So about 37. So about 1937. I guess.
You're getting pretty close to it. Now, here's why you are. You're getting very close to it. Because this is the rest of the story on real estate.
Yeah.
I sold a lot of houses and fast. And the word got around. So Mr. E.C. Stanfield called me one day and wanted me to come out and talk to him.
E.C. Stanfield?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And he was selling the first one to sell FHA homes. And the building and loans and the banks frowned upon them because they were government housing. But in the government housing, I liked it very much for 3 good reasons. One was it has strong specifications. And the other homes, you just put, I used to take a sharpshooter shovel with me, and I'd dig on the house, and I'd show the people how deep the footing was. I'd show them what they should look for. I made them tough buyers, that's for sure. And a lot of the builders just dig down through the sand, just pour a little dab of concrete. And it's amazing how long a home will last on it sometimes. If there's some sand on it, they will hold up pretty good. But anyway, they make you go 18 inches below the frost line on FHA. And other specifications that were good. No question about it. It was one of the best programs we have in this country. And they were guaranteed by the government. And they had a little lower interest rates than the building loans would let you have. And a little longer period of time. And so I just zeroed in on them. And I painted me a big picture of Uncle Sam. And had him pointing down to 14 houses I built on. Well, asked me to come on and help the boys sell them because they'd been a little slow selling all of them. But I helped them sell them in a hurry. And then I got real well acquainted with the superintendent. And when they bring I hired me, put a little office in my home. Elma Hedge was my first draftsman.
Where were those homes, those Stanfield homes?
2801 Northwest 25th is the first home I ever built in my life. 2801 25th.
Right across from OCU. No, 2801. No, that's a farther one. Yeah, right. Yeah.
You're pretty sharp.
Out where.
This guy is really sharp, man.
Out beyond Shepherd's Mall. Yeah.
You're getting mighty close to it. You're right. Mm-hmm. You're right. Now, I built all the homes in that whole area. Mm-hmm. Now, C.B. Warr was the leading builder at that time.
Yeah.
Dr. Nichols was slowing down. Mm-hmm. C.B. Warr was my competition. So every time he'd buy 80 acres, I'd try to buy 20 acres right beside him. And I'd build FHA homes, and I'd undersell him by $2,000.
You must have gone from selling homes for Stanfield to building real quickly.
I did, because Mr. Stanfield told me one day, he said, Bill, I've got a bad daughter, and I want to go back to Canada for my home. I don't know what's going to happen with this, but I want to start out to you. I said, I don't have the money to buy you up. You know I don't have that. He said, well, you don't need any money. And I said, what do you mean? He said, all I've got to sell you is a bookkeeper, and a typewriter, and a cheap desk, and a superintendent. And if they won't work for you, you don't have anything. So I knew the superintendent worked for me because I had been out drawing homes on Sam with him and telling him how to change this room and this room, and we were going on like that then. And they named Mr. Bryant. I don't know how I remember these names. Well, no, I've never mentioned to you before. He's been my secretary for a little while. But anyway, Mr. Bryant. And Mr. Stanfield took me down to Delisi. And he said, Delisi is the toughest person on credit. And once you get that credit, to hell with the banks. Anyone will loan you money. Well, Mr. Delisi was, as most rich people are, very frugal.
Yeah.
And he had a thin frame building office on his lot. You sound like you know about this too.
No, I don't. Okay. But I know about the Delisi family generally.
Okay.
I don't really.
The big tall guy, you know.
I know about it.
Right.
And a friend of mine was their accountant, was their controller back in the 60s, 1960s, and he told me about working for the Delisi family one time, but I've never met them, not any of them.
Well, I sat out in the outer room, thin walls, Mr. Delisi, big man and a coarse voice, had a good voice. And Stanfield likewise. Stanfield 62 or 3 inches tall, weighed 250 pounds. As a midget, very little guys. But when Stanfield got through telling him how good I was, I got the big head. I couldn't even wear my hat. I didn't know I was that good.
Yeah.
But he really gave him a selling. Said, this guy will make you some money if you would tie with him and help him. Just the fact that you're to live in the country, you would establish your credit. So I heard him said, you see, you never lied to me yet, so I'll take your word for this. Stanfield made a lot of money and always kept his credit good. They call this young man in, I want to meet him. Well, I heard that, but I had to sit out there and wait till he called me in. So I went in and shook hands with him, and he looked me right in the eye and he said, I understand you're broke. And I said, well, that's not right. But I understand you can sell. I said, I try like the elders. I try hard. He said, well, do you think you can pay your bills in 90 days from debt? I said, I'm practically certain. He said, why makes you so certain? I said, I'm selling most of my home before I start them. And I did. Whereas Miss Stanfield was selling, I saw them in advance. And Elma Hedge was asking I talked to the people one day, tell Elmer about it, and he said, hey, when I drove the plans, the next morning I'm going to sign them up. But we had a deal going that wouldn't quit. I was running about 6-7 hours a week, pre-selling them. So I was in the home building. First thing you know, I had billboards all over town. I wasn't at all bashful. Had a painting of me was twice as good looking as I really was. And at first I had a hard time figuring out what slogan to use. Being in a merchandising, I had to have a slogan. I was on a streetcar one day. Now, you don't know a streetcar.
I do, though.
You do.
And Rodger does,
yeah.
I think. But
I was on a streetcar one day, and there's two women right in front of me. I don't know by myself. Thinking I was thinking. One of them said, kid, we're going to build a home. Don't know what builder to go to see. The other girl said, I know you should see Bill Atkinson. All the girls tell me he builds good homes. All my friends. I said, there you are. Bill Atkinson builds good homes. What better slogan than that? So that was the slogan I had. And did those billboards do me a lot of good?
Was the slogan all the girls told me? Build good homes. Just build good homes.
Build good homes. You're right. I knew you'd pick up on that. I said that.
Yeah. So that's in the 30s. Now, I just want I really feel like I'm delaying all this, Rodger, but it's really a good, I really like hearing all this. I could do this all day. That's the Depression, the late 30s.
Right.
And Oklahoma City was still hurt pretty bad. They were building homes, though, at that time. You know, they built many homes.
They were FHA.
So those were the only ones people could really afford, I guess.
I'll tell you a good one I had put on TV. I had to pull every trick out of the bag for a while. Now, the Depression was when I had
the stock almost went broke at that time.
I know.
You know.
He did.
That
the Roosevelt Depression.
Yes.
It was a real depression. And so, where we had to trade, barter with each other rather than take money there for about a year.
Did you really?
That was when I was on the paper, yes.
Yeah, they closed the banks there. One Descriptive was a fair while.
I'd take eggs and chicken.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I've been through the restaurant. But,
I'm sorry.
No.
Anyway, we were saying we were building homes. You had the billboards and you had the slogan. You were building homes in the days.
Right. So then I was the leading builder, and I said, the leading builder in the state of Oklahoma. Check the courthouse records. Prove it. And I was. And from then on, we went like I probably got to tell you a good one I put on CD. Well, he hated my guts. When we started Midwest City, I invited all the builders out to help me build it. He said, Bill Atkinson, I hate your guts, always have and always will. You know damn good. But you cheater. I said, what do you mean cheat? Every time I go out and buy a piece of ground, you buy a piece of ground right beside me, and you lower the price $2,000. I said, now, CB, you should have done the same thing. But what he didn't know, I had a little fun with him once. He told his sales staff one day, he said, we're going to break this kid before he gets started together. So he had a big sales staff, and he told them what to do. To go out and tell his customers to go see Bill Atkinson, find out what his price was, and they would do it for 10% less. Well, one of their customers came back and told me that.
Oh, no.
They found out about you. So then I told him, I said, well, I'll figure the cost and show you the itemized cost. Which works more policy? And I charge 10% on that. I said, I'll figure the cost. Then I cut it 10% less than that. Then he'll cut it 10% less than that. And tell him he could throw in a chain link fence. Okay. I believe it was 10 houses he took on that basis. He lost his shirt. And he came back over raising there with me. Then he decided.
Get him down. That's good.
But you know, the following Christmas, he decided it's time we make up and be friends. He brought me one of those sparkling logs. And about 2 weeks prior to that time, I heard on the radio that one of those things blew up and killed some people. So I wouldn't take it. I told him to take it back home and use it. Funny things happen.
So Midwest City then must have been, you saw Tinker Field, I mean, that must have been, well, I was reading in that letter that you really just did that on your own reckoning. In other words, you saw the opportunity out there and go and...
Did you ever have time to read all that?
I didn't read all of it. I read that where it was saying that you were arguing
with Draper there that they evidently accused you of getting this some information on the sly, and you were saying that you saw from the newspapers, you saw where it was going to go.
Correct. No. I didn't see the newspapers. By deduction.
By deduction, I remember seeing that word.
I knew for a fact. By that time, I was on the executive committee of the Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce. And I worked very closely with Mr. Gaylord, and I considered him really a true friend. Now, where's that magazine on the Baptist Hospital? I had it there.
That was E.K. Gaylord, yeah.
E.K. Gaylord. I don't know what better proof positive I can give you than this right here. The Baptist Hospital, they asked me, Mr. Gaylord did, if I would be chairman of the committee to raise the money to start the great Baptist Hospital. Well, I was so busy then, I didn't feel I could afford to do it. So he got Robert S. Kerr to call me. He knew I'd do anything Robert S. Kerr wanted to do. So he came down, and I met with both of them, and I agreed to take the chairmanship of the committee. I was in doubt in my mind about it. Look at this.
Yeah.
There's Robert Kerr. There's Bill Atkinson. There's Mr. Gaylord and some of the star watch of Oklahoma City.
There's Brown.
Yes.
Earl Wallace.
Right. He was a great man. All those are great. They're right. They're wonderful people.
Now, you knew Edith Johnson through Gaylord and...
Yes, and that's all. That's all. Not personally. I knew these people very personally. But you want me to tell you a real true story on her, though?
Yes.
You'll like on this. See, Johnson Murray up here, one of the most colorful men I've ever known in my life. And soon after I came to Oklahoma City, he ran for governor. And he intrigued me. I'd never had politics in my mind at all. Never did it occur to me that I'd ever been involved in politics.
Now, you mean Bill Murray?
You mean Bill Murray?
Bill Murray.
I mean,
yeah,
Bill Murray.
Please.
What did I say?
John.
Oh, no.
You just missed it a generation.
Bill Murray. He was a character. I met him on the street one day, and he just stopped and wanted to strike up a conversation, and I didn't know him. And after a while, I'm like, God, he got right to the Constitution of the state of Oklahoma. He's a brilliant man. Really brilliant.
He was at the old Kincaid Hotel.
Oh, yeah.
You did that too, didn't you? Because I think you're the one that told me you saw him down.
Right.
He saw him at Kincaid Hotel.
You're the two of the most instrumental I've ever learned to cross. Would you like to spend an hour? I got a lot of but anyway, I've just got to tell you that this is a good story. I always try to see. I was supposed to bring for his opponent because all my friends were, and Gaylord was.
I don't even have anybody against him.
I believe Frank Buxton.
1930.
What?
It would have been 1930.
My recollection, yeah.
It would have been 1930.
I'm almost sure it was Buxton. And Mr. Buxton was my friend. I say Mr. because I respectfully call him Mr. He was quite a guy. But I kept it real quiet. I didn't let my real friends know that I was helping this man, but he intrigued me. He was such an interesting person. And I'd see in the papers where he'd been one town, 1 hour a day, and another town, another hour. And yet, he's supposed to be traveling by wagon.
Yeah.
And he'd sit on the back of the wagon and eat cheese and crackers and baked cheese. And I knew darn well that somebody was lying.
Covered too much ground.
Yeah, too much. So I started following him. You know what he was doing? They'd pick him up in the wagon at the edge of town. But they'd take him on a Ford automobile from year to year. And out here, they'd pick him up in the wagon.
Another wagon.
Right. And they'd take him right down to the courthouse square. And he'd get on the shade. And someone brings the cheese, someone brings a pitcher of water. And he'd sit there and chew tobacco and spit tobacco and try to get his mouth clean out a little bit. And he always had juice all over his, and his underwear was always showing as good as could be. His underwear he wore a long-handle underwear. Year round.
Yeah, it showed out from under his cuffs.
Oh, yeah. He felt dirty. I don't think he took a bath once a month. Maybe get that close to him, but I don't think he did. But he just had those people in the palm of his hand because he was for the poor people. Poor people were poor then. They really were poor. And then the word leaked around. They put out some pamphlets on him and a book on him, and I read all those. And these guys in there were smart. So I sure was hoping he'd win just to see what happened. Because one day he told me, he said, "Bill, if I win this, I'm going to plow up all those damn fancy flowers and shrubs and stuff to go around the state capitol." I said, "What are you going to do that for? You wouldn't dare." "Oh, I am too." I said, "I'm going to plant black-eyed peas and buttered beans and turnip greens and let all my friends and generals." I don't know if he ever did that or not, but he made the threat on that. I think he probably did.
Well, they were trying to probably kill us. Anyway, there wasn't long there were oil wells all around that area.
But I tell you, Edith Johnson came out with a front page editorial about 4 days before he was supposed to make a big speech. The biggest speech they made was about 2 days before the election, and down the county seat of the courthouse. So I got down there 2 hours early to be sure that I was on front seat. I wanted to hear how he was going to answer on that. He got up and he spotted me, and he gave me a signal, and telling me he was ready. So he got up in that melodious voice, and he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that I have always been a gentleman in every respect, and I always will be. And I'm sure you saw the papers a couple of days ago where Miss Edith Johnson said that my underwear was dirty, and my mustache was dirty, and I didn't smell too good. But now I'm going to tell you, I will remain a gentleman. I will not say anything not nice about her. I just want to tell you this, though, Miss Judy, if I ever see your underwear and they're dirty, I'll damn sure keep it to myself." You ever hear that story before?
Yeah,
I've never heard
I
that.
hadn't heard that first.
Yeah, that's right. I wasn't at the crowd just roared.
Oh,
Yeah.
And he got a lot more votes. Buxton couldn't hold him in candlelight. And I went out to see him one day. Just got to tell you this. Every now and then, you know, maybe you don't know this. Of course, you people do. You get around. A lot of people don't know it. But people in high office get lonesome a lot of times. They really do. Not so much today as they used to, I think. And the governors know that they really did more company a lot of times. The kind of company they wanted to talk to. So about at least once a month, Bill Murray would call me and said, "Bill, come out and see this, sir." "Well, you go." Of course, I dropped everything. I said, "I'm glad to see him." So when I see him one day, he'd rearrange his office. Now, you know, every time you governor now, like this last governor wanted to turn the blue room into an office, which was a little too harsh, I thought. Everyone out there for the last 17 years have had to completely spend a lot of taxpayers' money remodeling the offices. I don't go with that crap myself. But anyway, Bill Murray had done some changing on his office. He wanted me to say, I couldn't imagine him spending a dime on the office. But I went out to see what he's talking about. So he had a number of straight back chairs lined up. They were old oak chairs, brand new, just slick as they could be. Must have had about 25 lined up right against the wall. No other chairs. I said, Governor, where do you want me to sit? Where in the hell do you think you want to sit? Sit back down in one of these chairs. And I said, okay. So I sat down in one of them, and I said, this is too far for me to talk to you. He said, well, how do you feel in them? And I kept sort of sliding out. I said, they're not very comfortable. So he said, okay, I've had my fun now. So then he, after opens the closet, goes out my regular chair, nice, comfortable chair. He said, now, he cut the legs off these chairs. You ever hear this story?
No.
It's a true story now. Of course, it wouldn't be saying if it wasn't true. He cut the legs off the front of those chairs, and when you sit down in, and he had them chained, he had them screwed back to the wall, and you couldn't move them, and you sit there and slide out. Now, he said, Bill, I have so many cheese and crackers friends, and so many of them have halitosis, and so many of them want to come to see me, and they want to stay all day, and they want to get right under my face to talk to me, because they all think I'm harder of hearing than I really am, and that's the only way I can get rid of them.
That's a funny story. I'd never heard that.
You never heard that? Well, you probably haven't, because I haven't told you, because he probably never told you.
He may never have told anybody.
Maybe then, because I was pretty close to him.
It's amazing. You got here in 1928, but...
I made 8.
Yeah, you were already the governor by that time. Oh, yeah. That was 30 when he became governor.
Well, I was one of the first guys that... Well, to me, he was the most unusual person.
Certainly could have. Well, I guess maybe at that time maybe it might have been different. But, I mean, his philosophy was practically a socialist. His political philosophy, you must have eventually been far different than he was.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of economics.
Well, at that time, everybody was poor, including me. We were just all poor people.
Yeah, that's right.
And we're all in the same basket. And with a rich man running against... didn't have a chance. Buckley didn't have a chance.
Yeah, that's true. At those times, I guess, 1/3 of the country was out of work. About 1/3 of Oklahoma was out of work.
Didn't he run for president of the United States at a later date?
He tried.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. At the convention in Roosevelt before he got nominated.
Did you ever hear him speak? Either one of you?
I have him on tape.
Only on tape where he nominated Roosevelt in 32, didn't he?
No.
Who did that? Will Rogers?
No, Will Rodger nominated him.
That's what I said. Will Rogers nominated. Well, Will Rogers nominated for Bill Murray.
Yes.
Then that's the speech I heard.
Oh, he did?
Then that's the speech
I heard. Then he
got
up after they...
Will Rogers nominated Bill Murray?
Yeah.
And then he got up and spoke for Roosevelt. Just a short while after.
Rogers did, or
Rogers did.
Or after...
Yeah. Murray
didn't.
I heard problems with Roosevelt.
I saw that, but it's been a long time since I've seen those tapes.
We're just going through those right now.
Oh, yeah? Roger's got great background in all this, but I was gone from Oklahoma for 30 years, 25. I was living in New York and then in Minnesota 20 years. So I had to kind of pick back up again when I came back. But I missed a lot of stuff, and I didn't know all those. Actually, I guess I left in 56. You ran for governor when? It was after I left.
I don't know.
60.
I try to forget those kind of things.
I remember the Bill Coe election when he fought Johnson Murray.
Yes.
That's the last one I remember, and I might have been one.
You want me to give you a title that you could write some books and it'll sell like hotcakes to guys like me? You take everyone that has ever run for governor of Oklahoma.
Well, that's...
Every run.
Yeah, I understand.
All right.
I hear you.
All right. Get the program on which they ran. Takes the one who's defeated, see what happened to him. Takes the one that won and see what happened to his program. Then what happened to him. You want me to tell you now what happened to Frank Long? They finished the race, financed it broke, they ain't money on it. Then, if they lost it, the health broke. Next thing you run the funeral. Just go ahead and see. You'd be surprised how much of that happened. Now the ones that won, very few I remember followed that program.
Yeah.
They pronounced it. And most of them, Oklahoma turned against them regardless of what the situation was. Most of them.
The power of the legislature is just too much, I think, is probably the reason for that.
And then...
But now you're a contrast with that. You certainly didn't.
Well, it just... I studied enough to see if that's what happened the other night and determined it wasn't my going.
So you thought about that stuff?
You better believe it. No, I've always tried to keep myself in a pretty fair financial shape, so I have a cushion. And I've looked out on that extremely well. But it's been a great life. I don't believe... don't forget what I'm telling you on the book. If you have one of the books, I want to buy one.
That's an interesting idea. I agree with you. That is a hell of an idea.
It is a good idea.
We might do that at the historical society.
I want to be one of your first guys to buy one of your books now. I'll tell you, every university ought to have that in the government department. That ought to be taught. Because you get a lot of lessons from that. No question about it. Now, talking about famous people, you'd be surprised that the people that I know, have known, and the contacts I've had with them, and You won't believe just a few things I can tell you.
Yeah.
For an example, let me just tell you one little thing. Robert S. Curry used to think that I hung the moon. He'd come in on, he didn't like, had a phobia against airplanes. He's about 6 feet tall and a very big man. Yeah, he did. And, yes, he did. He'd come in on the Santa Fe about 5 o'clock in the morning. Be sure, he'd always call me at least twice a month. Used to make Dean, when Dean McGee found out about it, it really burned him up. We did this 2 or 3 years before Dean McGee found out about it. And I'd pick him up and take him to his home place. And we'd always have the same breakfast every morning. And the breakfast would always last until noon. So 5 or 6 hours, I would report to him what I thought he should know. And I was in the middle of everything in Oklahoma City. And so I could feed a lot of information that he needed to know, particularly about Gaylord. Gaylord is pretty rough, man.
Hey, you're talking about the mid-50s, or?
I'm the worst guy in the world to keep track of the dates.
40s to 50s. But, yeah, he became senator in 44, right? Yeah, he was governor in 40 to 44. No, 42 to 46. And so it would have been 40, then he became senator, I think, in 46. So he died in, I was in Washington when he died in the 60s. Could have been.
So, Senator Kerr pretty much operate on a basis of taking in a lot of information and then evaluating it, or did he appear to you to already have his mind made up?
No. I considered him one of the most powerful voices in Washington for how many? I thought he was spent so long in your telling me here. How long was he state in the United States Senator?
I just got the
About 16 years.
Oh, well, now that's more like it. Okay.
Yeah, 46 to about 63, so somewhere around there. I think it's 4 terms.
That was what I raised money for him every time he ran, and that was why he liked me so well. I was able to raise a lot of money for him. One reason. They always had strawberries on top of cornflakes and half cream and a cup of coffee. And we'd lunch on that till noon. And by the time we got through, we pretty much knew it. And one day, he said, Bill, he said, we've got a chance that I'm working very close to Lyndon Johnson now, and I want you to know that. And I don't go around telling everybody about this, but I'm telling you the facts now. And he says, Lyndon wants something in Texas, and I want something in Oklahoma. And he's going to call Connolly, and he was then head of the Navy. And we're all going to have a meeting at the place. You know, it seemed like there's always the place. It was the Mayflower Hotel then in Washington. So I met him as they suggested. And this guy, Lyndon Johnson, was quite a guy. Man,
He was majority leader at that time.
yes, he was. That's right. Huge man. And my God, he's accepted me as an old-time friend. At least Robert Curry said that later. I said, son, I never heard anyone curse like that before in my life. He couldn't say a word without cursing. And
A very good friend of mine was one of his speechwriters after he was
well, did he tell you?
guy from Oklahoma, John Nichols. Yes, he said the same thing.
You know, he was a rough customer. I don't know how in the world he ever did what he did. He bulldozed his way through a lot of things.
Yeah, he was a real browbeater.
Yes, he was. So they told me, he said, now, we can get an air academy in Oklahoma if you keep it real quiet. Get everything all set. And there'll be a time when everybody don't know about it, but let's just have it sacked out. And just go where we wanted to go. And we cooked it all up in nice sweet rooms. And Bob Kerr had the idea. And you're going to get a kick out of this story now. Another one of these stories. He said, go down to the old naval base, Bill, and you get some cost estimates on what it would cost you to paint all those buildings and paint all those runways black again, so they look brand new. And then you go over and talk to the president of the university. So I call him in advance and tell him you're going to talk to him. I'm not going to tell him what's cooking, except I want you to have someone, WKY, on the side come down, introduce some of the professors. Be sure we had the right professors for the Air Academy, see. And said to get it on a tape that's 28 minutes long. and I want you to come up here, and you and I are going to sell it, and Lennon won't come to the meeting. And I get all the Pentagon generals over there. Well, to make a long story short, in about 3 weeks, I had the complete job finished. When I went up and showed Senator Kern, he just hit this. Bill, this succinct. That'll sell them. Now, you're going to get a big laugh out of it. So I went to the Mayflower Hotel, one of the largest rooms. They must have had over 200. And if there's anyone in there that wanted a general, I don't know who it was. I've never seen so many generals in one spot. I think everybody in the Pentagon was there. And Senator Kerr, I've made talks all my life, so it doesn't bother me to get up and make an extemporaneous talk. It doesn't bother me at all. So, and it doesn't bother Bob Kerr. He's a great speaker.
Yeah.
But he got nervous that day. I've never seen him nervous all my life. He walked up to there and he says, he thanked him for coming. So I said, didn't anticipate you to be this many of you. I believe every officer out there came and they gave a hand as though, yes, we did. And he says, you don't know exactly what I'm going to talk about, but I hope you like what presentation we have for you. Now I want to reintroduce to you the outstanding salesman of the state of Oklahoma. No, let me go back. He's the best salesman in the state of Oklahoma. Now I want to do a little bit better. He's the best salesman in the whole United States. Now listen, you put yourself in my position. I lost my heart and my stomach. I lost everything. You put yourself in my position. I lost my heart and my stomach. I lost everything. You put yourself in my position. I lost my heart and my stomach. I lost everything. You put yourself in my position. I lost my heart and my stomach. I lost everything. You put yourself in my position. I lost my heart and my stomach. I lost everything. You put yourself in my position. I lost my heart and my stomach. I lost everything. You put yourself in my position. I lost my heart and my stomach. I lost everything. You put yourself. No, politics are not involved in you becoming a general. Well, it was all politics.
Yeah.
Well, then they got a big laugh, see. And I said, now I just must tell you something. I'm a very mediocre salesman compared to many of you men sitting around. No question about that, because I see a lot of 4-star generals out there. So then I got a good hand on that. And I said, now I'm going to tell you something that in Oklahoma the senator and I keep a secret. I'm the general finance chairman for him. I raise all the millions for him. It takes for him to come and win these elections, but I do it underground. Then they just hooped and hollered then. But so I broke them down, and they started laughing with me, not at me.
Yeah.
And then they listened to the movie. It was exactly 28 minutes. Then Senator Kerr got up, and I spoke about 5 minutes after that. Selling one in the Midwest at Tinker's here and all this, and the air was just right. Then they went back to Pentagon and voted practically unanimous to put it here. Now you're going to, I ain't not going to believe this story. Robert S. Kerr called me in about 48 hours and said, well, Bill, we're going to get it. Everything, the Pentagon, the board's out there for it. And when Lennon and I go talk to Eisenhower, he don't have any choice. He can't turn us down. So, in the meantime, the next day he called back and said, Bill, I got some bad news and good news. Which do you want to hear first? I said, I believe I'd take the bad news first. Maybe the good news will overcome it. He said, well, it will. So I gave you the bad news first. He said, the bad news is we're not going to get the Air Academy. I said, you got to be kidding. I just knew that. So, now let me tell you why. We were commanded by Eisenhower to come to his office and be there at 10 o'clock this morning. And we were there. And he said, I'm so sorry to tell you this, gentlemen, but Mamie, I heard about this yesterday, which you keep secrets like that. And I had to tell Mamie about it last night. and she wouldn't sleep with me last night. She went in another room, quite a distance from me. But I didn't call you last night when I was tempted to do, because I thought it was all right with me if you went down there, because everything you're saying is right, and I feel obligated to you fellows. But he says, Mamie's from Colorado, and she promised a lot of her friends there was going to be in Colorado. And and I thought, and for breakfast in the morning, I got to tell her. But he said, I talked to her this morning, and she told me, he said, now, Ike, you, as of now, are the most popular Army officer that ever lived. They give you credit for winning World War II. And you're also the most popular president that we've ever had. At least that's what the polls show. But I'm going to give you something else that's going to be number one. You'll be the first sitting president his wife ever divorced him, if you do that. And this is a true story now. Yeah. And he said, Eisenhower said, Mamie, how could you possibly talk to me like that? He said, well, I've been waiting for a long time to let you know that you've been running around that floozy over there, that you're chauffeur. But I was going to just contain it until I had just the right time to tell you. Now I've got a solid grounds to get a divorce from you right there, and I mean it. Now, and Bob Curry said that he got down and put his hands in his chin like it, almost far over that you get, just pleading, says, fellas, don't make me do this. Don't make me do it. So Lyndon Johnson spoke up and said, well, okay. Said, we want the atom smasher down in Texas. And they got it, you know. And then he says, now, Robert S. Kerr says, well, Mr. President, what are you going to do for me? I'm going to have a lot of people going to be let down. So they sat there and he said, Bill, take it from me. We figured out something for Oklahoma City and Oklahoma that's far better than the air can ever be. Bring far more money in than ever. Well, not too many months thereafter, the new contingent moved into Atkinson. I think that was a trade-off, but they never tell me what it was.
A new contingent taker?
Yeah. And isn't that a story?
Well, really? I've never heard of any of that.
Well, that shows you what can happen behind the scenes.
Yeah.
It's amazing what goes on upstairs.
I'd always heard that the Space Center went to Houston when the navigation thing went to Oklahoma. That deal was between Kerr and Lyndon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Space Center went into Houston, NASA. At the same time, they decided to navigate the Arkansas River to Tulsa.
I wouldn't doubt that.
I don't know if that's true.
I wouldn't doubt that. I wouldn't doubt it at all, because Bob Kerr was determined to do that, and Kerr was determined. I mean, Gaylord was determined he wasn't going to do it, so that's why Oklahoma City didn't have it for it.
You had that third guy in there too, Rayburn, at the same time. He was Speaker of the House at the same time.
Oh yeah, you bet you.
So that was a hell of a trio.
You bet.
Those guys.
Well, there was one time that
Mulroney wasn't bad.
Not bad at all. Did you know Mulroney was a seatmate to Kennedy, President Kennedy?
He was a
Did you know that? They were seatmates in the Senate.
Yes.
And Mike was a very close friend of mine. And every time I'd see Mike, he'd be telling me that this Kennedy guy is no damn good, you know. He won't be good for the country. He said he's a lousy womanizer. He's out all night. But said, I've got to say this for the cuss. Now, they're both very liberals. Mike was liberal and Kennedy very liberal. He said, I write his speech. He asked me if I write it for him. Got to be given the next morning. And I write mine, knowing that he will give his, because I got to write them different. But they're saying the same thing. And said, this guy's got a photogenic mind. He can read his speech 3 times and get up and give it better than I can give mine. Kennedy, I didn't know he was that Kennedy. He must have been a brilliant guy. Now, when I'm talking on the same line now, I'm going to tell you something real good. During this same period, when Kennedy ran for president, Bob Kerr recommended that I be his campaign manager in the state of Oklahoma. Very, very flattering, but I didn't like Kennedy because Mike told me why I shouldn't like him. I didn't even like his program. I didn't. Well, I didn't mean you're going to follow it when I program anyway. But anyway, Bobby Kennedy and Teddy Kennedy divided the states up and had about 10 of us coming at a time, all the states. When Oklahoma and Texas and those surrounding states, we all went together. And I was supposed to represent them here. And Barbara, I want you to hear this because I want you to find. Patty?
Yes.
We'll be seeing you.
Okay.
Well, okay, I'm gonna have to go in a few minutes,
Well, we probably need to anyway,
but I want to.
and come back. I think we,
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I found the annual and this is
oh, okay.
something that you.
Well, sure. Find what the other this. I got a kick out of what
One more.
they. Yeah, I got a kick. I believe I did the other day what they said about me.
1926.
Yes. Not any big deal, but I sort of got a kick.
Well, we hope you'll consent to letting us come back. And
Oh, of course.
The reason
I've enjoyed talking to you.
we really want to hear, in your own words, about the beginning of Midwest City and Tinker Field, the beginning of Tinker Field in Midwest City, and the Oklahoma Journal. We still want to hear about that.
You'll never know it until I tell you. You're not going to know the truth by us talking to Gaylords.
Yeah, well, I know that.
That's for sure.
I looked into it when I was I did a book on the history of First National a couple of years ago, and I talked to the Hightower family extensively about Hightower's involvement
Oh, yeah.
with Douglas.
Yes.
And I talked to Felix Porter, who worked for under Chuck, did the bonds on the Turnpike and the FAA and those things.
Yeah.
So I've got a little background in all of that, but that's why I think I want to hear, and I imagine you do.
and I want to talk to you some more about your gubernatorial race.
Yeah, and the governor's gubernatorial.
I need to pay you back for that barbecue you fed me then.
Yeah, okay. All right. You couldn't find it.
Yeah, I did find it. Is this what
If
you're
it doesn't say
talking
something
about?
nice, don't say it. But I believe it's interesting with the prediction they made. Isn't it?
It says, well, let me read the last two paragraphs. WP is a thinker, a doer, a go-getter. He is individualistic in makeup and cues his own path through life, and that path leads to the summit. God is there. We prophesy phenomenal success, perhaps as director of publicity of the church and the things it stands for. Who knows?
What is that, from TCU?
No, this is from
Junior college.
Junior college.
From the Jacksonville.
Can you imagine them saying that
The
about me?
Morris.
Can you imagine them saying that about me at that age when I didn't know what I was going to
And
do?
here's your gridiron, too.
Oh, listen, you're going to get a kick out of this. I think everybody in Oklahoma voted for me except Eddie and his dad. Now, they were my pals because they knew he was lying when he did all the stuff they told me. So there, he had one or two editorials that in effect said that if Bill Atkinson's governor, that means that Midwest City will take everything away. Oklahoma City will get nothing else. It'll all go to Bill Atkinson and Midwest City. And so the gridiron following that deal is quite a deal. You see, now you got to understand this now. Bartholomew, they made me chairman of the committee on when they're going to bring a highway program through Oklahoma, 30.
Yeah.
35 and 40. And I called Washington to talk to some of my friends, who's the best land planner, who's the man I should talk to. They recommended Bartholomew. Well, you see, the $4 billion plan, they get on to my ranch where I am now, and they said, whoa, go back. But
That's funny.
Isn't that funny, deal?
Love it.
Isn't that a funny deal?
Oh, that is funny.
And everybody went to gridiron and sat there an hour to wait till the program started and look
Who
at
did that? Ray Parr, I bet, did that.
Could have been.
Because he had that kind of humor. I didn't know him well. I knew him a little bit. He's a lot older than I am. But he and Stewart, between those two guys, Roy Stewart, I bet those two guys did it. Because they had that kind of sense of humor, both of them.
They're clever.
Parr was the funniest of the two.
You know, I kept this around here for years and years and didn't even look at it, and one day I picked it up and read it, and I didn't mind.
Whoa, go back.
That was pretty clever.
Because you fought him over that Tinker Diagonal, too, forever, didn't you?
No, I did not.
Did you?
No, sir. No. You got to finish reading my
Yeah, I
letter.
didn't read it.
Now, when we get together again, I want you to finish this letter. And
Can we make a copy of this, or are you comfortable with that?
I'd rather not right now, if you
all right.
don't mind, because I tell you, it's been on a lock and key.
Yeah.
And
That's
that's
fine.
so valuable information.
Okay.
I'd appreciate it if you let me keep this right now. No one else has a
Fine.
copy of it.
That's fine.
Well, fine, but
And but if this letter doesn't convince you when I tell you, pull through, that what I'm telling you is the truth. I have no reason to lie to you.
Sure.
In other words, if I wanted to lie to you, I wouldn't want you to come out and see me.
what would you like to, in terms of coming back?
Well,
I can't.
I haven't told you anything yet. You don't know what's going on here. You don't know what's going on down there.
Yeah, I know it.
And
Well-
I think when you find out what we're doing here and what we're doing there, I bet you all the 10 China that you're going to make one of your jobs, I'm going to predict to you, to go to every county seat and find someone in that can afford to give their home place, just like I did this to a foundation that will serve all the people in that area, maybe the entire county, and do what we've done if you like what we've done. And the whole project is to get people together and get acquainted with each other and learn to work together better. The better you know each other, the better you're going to work together.
Well, that's right. Speak to that.
So that's, I've talked to one of your men that used to be the head of the department several years ago when I first started this thing, and he's the one who put that idea in my head. He saw what I was going to do here, and he said, I've forgotten his name now. Who? I don't know.
Blackford.
I don't remember.
He's a historian. He wrote the county history of Oklahoma.
But it is
The history of Oklahoma.
I just got to tell you this. Have you seen the movie on Kennedy?
Mm-hmm. JFK, yes.
Have you seen the movie?
Yes.
You believe 99% of what I'm
Well, I believe it was a conspiracy. I don't believe
no
it's.
question about
I
it.
don't believe it's as broad as he portrayed it. I mean, there's so many people involved. I don't say I could have kept it secret at all, but I do believe there were other people involved. Yeah.
Will you agree? I think
it's a conspiracy. I don't think Oswald shot him. I mean, if he did, he's only one of 3 guns.
I agree.
I think there were at least. I've stood there in that building, in that window,
Yeah.
and that's a damn tough shot. I'm no great shot, but that's really a tough shot.
I've heard that the best marksman they had in the Marines tried to shoot a dummy plane and he missed his mark every time.
Well, I'm no great marksman, so I'm not a really good
He was
judge of
killed.
that.
He was killed from behind that fence,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
and it never convinced me that it was influenced by CIA, Mafia, and Castro, which goes back to Russia. It was a collusion. We were on extremely dangerous ground there for a while. You know that.
Well, there's so much going on. Billy saw arrested. There was a murder or 2 involved in him down in Texas just before that.
Right.
Before that,
Right.
one guy was killed in Johnson County with 3 shots in the back. They called it suicide. You know. That was women's.
Have you seen the book? I haven't seen it, but I've heard King. You see him every night. I'm sure on CNN.
Yes.
Did you hear him the other night when he was talking about the son of the brother of the uppermost top man who's right now under trial in the Mafia?
Oh,
And
yes. Yeah.
Betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
I believe what this young man said. In most part, he tried to make a story out of it.
Indeed.
But now let me tell you why I believe some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
I told you I was asked to be campaign manager for Kennedy in this state, and I dutifully accepted. Bob, you go ahead.
Well, I said if you wanted to schedule another meeting for
Well,
him here, I have his door.
As far as I'm concerned, anytime these men want to talk to me, it's okay if I'm not speaking some other place.
What do you think, Roger? Tomorrow's hard for me. I could come Friday or next week. I think almost any day next week. Let me see, I've got my calendar right here.
I'm occupied next 3 working days, so Tuesday's first off.
Tuesday's the first day for you, okay, let's see, that's February, that's March.
March 3rd.
I think I've got a thing in the morning, but not the evening. Let's see. Well, better get March.
Well, they're singing, aren't they?
5 Dalmatians out there
Mhm.
between the fire.
I could do it on the 3rd, on Tuesday, whatever time you want.
Afternoon.
I attended the meeting with the Kennedys.
Yeah.
They gave us a whole stack of materials. We were to follow it by the letter. Now, as much money as I'd helped raise for Bob Kerr, they were telling me how to come down here and raise money. I resented that a little bit to start with. I resented the way they tried to. I knew they were filthy rich, but yet the clothes they had on looked like they slept on them for a week. Neither of them had a haircut.
Bobby and Jack.
They were horrible specimens to be representing a man who would be president of the United States, in my opinion. Ted sat in the back, never opened his mouth once. Bobby sat right in front, and he was a tough little SOB.
I heard he was very dictatorial.
Very dictatorial. Small in stature, but loud and boisterous. Never cracked a smile. He told you he gave the marching orders.
So I understood that.
Yeah. Then he told us how much money we should raise in each state. And when he told me how much he wanted more come, I'd been there 3 days. It was supposed to be 2 more days. So I wanted to get to the meat of the coconut pretty quick. But I had made up my mind I didn't want the job.
Mm-hmm.
So he told me how much. And I said, that's more than twice that we've ever raised for Senator Robert S. Kerr. And I'll tell you now, it can't be done. And therefore, I don't want the job. And I want to bow out. And good luck to you. And he says, no, wait a minute. Robert S. Kerr said, you're the man. So you're going to take the job all right. And you're going to raise the money all right. We know who's in Oklahoma that has the money. And we'll give you a list of people to call on. And if any of them turn you down, all you got to do is call our office, and we'll have a person you contact. Then they'll make a few contacts. Then they'll be calling you. Can you imagine that?
Well, they were tough.
I said, no, thank you. Not under any circumstances. I've never done business like that, and I'm not starting now. No wonder the little SOB was shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they were.
Well, was that kind of frightening experience?
To me,
Uh-huh.
well, of course it was.
It would to be to me.
I wouldn't want any part of it.
Yeah.
You know now, I know that the Mafia put a lot of money in this campaign for president.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, the power that came out of that whole thing was really amazing. And they this must have been almost a year before the election, wasn't it? It was real early, wasn't it?
Oh, yes, it was
Real
early.
spring, at least.
Early.
Because I know they started waiting.
You ever, now, don't misunderstand me. In a way, I think that Kennedy pulled off a miracle. He wasn't supposed to win.
No.
Not at all, in my book.
Those days, being a Catholic was a big issue.
That's
those
right.
Days.
But I don't, most people don't like me to say this, but I met him several occasions. Did you ever meet him?
No.
So therefore you need to shake hands with him.
No.
Well, I have. And it's just like, are you a fisherman? You catch catfish?
I know you.
Dead catfish and his tail.
Yeah.
His palm, now he can't help this, but the palm of his hand is so thick, so fat, he can't shake hands with you.
Jack Kennedy.
Jack Kennedy. Would you
Was
ever-
Bobby that way too?
No.
I just did a piece with a black fellow the other day who's.
Not that I know of. I don't remember it.
Well, it just happened to remind me of it. It's an interesting story. But this kid works out at General Mills. He's probably got the biggest collection of black history in the state of Oklahoma, maybe one of the biggest in the country. He's got it in his home out here in Guthrie. And I was out there, and he was telling me that he was growing up in Watts. His family was originally from Oklahoma, but he was growing up in the Watts area of Los Angeles, and his mother was an avid, or his grandmother, I guess it was an avid follower of the Kennedys. And that Bobby Kennedy came by that day in Watts, and she went out and shook his hand and said, he was standing there, and she came right back and said,
it's as if he's dead. He's got his hand is cold like the hand of a dead man. And he was killed that night. He was killed that night. She always thought that was a premonition of his death, but it may have just been the way his hand was. If Jack's was that way, Bobby's might have been too.
Well, Jack's was. I never did shake hands with anyone that had a lot of flesh in the palm of the hands.
Yeah, I never did that either.
Never did. That's an impediment like that. To me, it is. I shouldn't even mention it, but I don't know.
Those kind of impressions are interesting. I met the president of the University of Oklahoma, Van Horn, not too long ago. He spent the whole time I was there looking at his shoe tops. I never saw a leader do that before. I study leaders. I've worked around some pretty good ones.
That's since you said
And he was standing there. He spent the whole time. I thought, how can this man raise money? How can he do anything?
Barbara, how many times have you heard me say this?
What?
Now, you don't know this, but I spent 3 years in Washington. 1 year as legislative chairman of the National Association of Home Builders.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
And 1 year is vice president, and 1 year is president of the National. And nothing I'd rather do than to study people and body language. It means an awful lot.
It does. It really is.
And Bob Curry and Monroney knew that I liked to do that. So they knew I was in Washington so much that I always call the office of Home Builders. If Bill's going to be in town, tell him the big shots are going to be at the desk of so-and-so hotel, and when. And you'd be surprised. Like de Gaulle, I knew where he was going to be at the Statler Hotel. I knew exactly what time. So no one else knew it, so I got me a front seat. And just sat there. I just wanted to see how he conducted himself and all his entourage. And it's very impressive, man.
I've even studied orchestra leaders.
Yeah.
I used to go to rehearsals
Yes.
of the symphony orchestra in Minnesota to watch what they would bring in, because it was a big orchestra. They used to bring in great leaders that brought in. My wife sang under Robert Shaw one time, and they brought these guys in from New York. And I used to go to the rehearsals to watch them. And I don't know about music, but I was interested in how they got these people to do all this together.
Oh, yeah. I bet you.
And that's all my But
This concludes the interview with W.P. Atkinson, 2/26/92. This is tape 3 of 3 tapes during this interview.